Chapter 497. Bestowing the inheritance. No one would have thought that the entire divine corpse realm would become Long Chen's backyard. Long Chen took away almost half of the items in the more than 300 light gates in just a few dozen days. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the others were still immersed in the area where they fought Long Chen. They were racking their brains for more than 100 immoral techniques and pills. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the others were unable to leave the current space and could only wait for the divine corpse realm to close. On the other side, Long Chen had already brought everyone back to where Jianshi San and the others were. No one in the Sword Worship clan expected that Long Chen would give almost half of the immoral techniques and pills he obtained to Jian Fantian. Now that the three great ancient clans had joined forces, the Sword Worship clan had an unprecedented desire to win. Long Chen gave many immoral techniques and pills to Dongfang Jin and the others. These items were personally selected by him and were very suitable for them. Seeing that they were about to leave the divine corpse realm, everyone sighed endlessly. The wasteland, which was the most dangerous place among the 5 great divine realms, was actually not dangerous at all. Instead, they obtained everything just by waiting in the same place. And all of this was because of Long Chen. Long Chen stood in a daze. In fact, he already knew about the so-called 2 great inheritances. Long Chen's fingertips moved slightly, and the thought appeared on his fingertips and jumped continuously. Long Chen stared at the demonic will for a moment and said, "Your life changed because of me. Although you're only a demonic will, you're still a member of the Heavenly Deity clan. Now, almost 80% of the items in the divine corpse realm have been taken away by me, and I can't kill you at all. Today, I'll help you obtain the inheritance here and get rid of your demonic nature. It can be considered karma, and there's no more enmity between us." Long Chen's words made the demonic will burn continuously like a flame. Looking at the demonic will, Long Chen couldn't help but shake his head. With his current cultivation, he couldn't get rid of this demonic will. The Heavenly Deity clan was indeed worthy of being called the Undying clan. Long Chen's divine soul turned into 5 elements carving knives at his fingertips and continuously fell on the demonic will, causing black smoke to continuously appear. Although this demonic will was a demonic soul of the deity race, it had already gained sentience after countless years. At this moment, Long Chen was using the power of his divine soul to expel the demonic nature. The fingernail-sized demonic will had shrunk to the size of a grain of rice, but it was no different from an ordinary divine soul. "Thank you." The divine soul that was the size of a grain of rice shook its body and turned into a black-robed young man. He bowed deeply to Long Chen. The two of them had no grudges against each other. It was just that when he was a demonic soul, his heart was extremely dark. After he discovered that Long Chen's divine sense was strong, he was always afraid that Long Chen would ruin his plans. Therefore, he wanted to kill him. However, although his divine will was powerful, it had only been awakened for a short period of time. Now that Long Chen had removed this person's demonic nature, it was as if he had given him a completely new heart. Long Chen nodded and brought the man's soul back to the void where the hundreds of doors of light were. He said faintly, "The so-called soul inheritance is the remnant souls of all the immortal arts in this place, and the so-called undying inheritance is this entire God's corpse. I'm afraid it's also the last body of the celestial deity clan." As Long Chen's voice fell, the grain-sized divine soul stared blankly at the countless doors of light. Each door of light led to different parts of the God's corpse. If these were not inheritances, then what were they? It was just that this soul inheritance was divided into countless immortal arts and remnant souls. "Your Excellency, since you've taken away the soul inheritance, why did you tell me about the undying inheritance?" Zhao Qi's divine soul asked Long Chen. Although Zhao Qi was only a demonic soul, he already had his own thoughts at this moment. He knew what the 2 great inheritances of the celestial deity clan meant. "This soul inheritance is an object of destiny to you, but it's completely useless to me. As for the strength inheritance, it's even more so," Long Chen said faintly. Although Long Chen's words were calm, Zhao Qi was shocked when he heard them. However, he shook his head and laughed. When Long Chen suppressed him that day, the bloodline power he displayed was far superior to that of the celestial deity clan. he also guessed that the soul inheritance was Long Chen's divine will. With the strength of Long Chen's divine will, it should not be at this level. In fact, it was indeed so. Although the celestial deity clan's bloodline had long disappeared and was no longer on the bloodline master list, it could not be compared to the heavenly dragon bloodline. As for the so-called immoral arts and saint arts, this soul inheritance was even more useless to Long Chen. In his previous life, he had stepped into the sovereign realm in 300 years. His talent was unparalleled. He had countless immortal arts and saint arts in his hands. In terms of swordsmanship, no one could surpass him. If he did not need this soul inheritance to suppress the waste region, he would not have taken away half of it. On the contrary, the countless pills and many natural treasures inside were a great resource to Long Chen. This is the place of compatibility, and also the place where divine will nourishes. Whether you can merge with the god's corpse and reconstruct your body depends on your luck. Long Chen left Zhao Qi's divine soul in the void where the hundreds of doors of light were. This place was the true divine will riverbed, which was why it could connect to various places in the divine corpse realm. Long Chen turned and left. The reason why he left Zhao Qi and purified his divine soul to obtain the inheritance was because he felt sorry for him. As a sovereign in his previous life, he had seen too many things in the world. Since this person came for him and was difficult to kill, why not let the celestial deity clan of the past reappear in the world? Zhao Qi no longer had his demonic nature. He was endlessly grateful for Long Chen's help. Seeing Long Chen leave, he shouted, "Remember, my name is Zhao Qi." He was no longer the remnant soul of the past celestial deity clan, but a new person. Long Chen left half of the soul inheritance and half of the resources. These things were enough for him to become a complete celestial deity clan after merging with the god's corpse. And he would be the last celestial deity clan, and the first celestial deity clan of this generation. Time passed quickly. The entire divine corpse realm was extremely peaceful. Everyone was immersed in cultivation. No one would have thought that the divine corpse realm, which they never dared to enter in the past, would be so simple this time. Buzz. Beams of light appeared, and one by one, the ancient clans began to disappear in the divine corpse realm. When everyone opened their eyes again, they had reappeared in the land under the god's corpse of the waste region. Everyone was excited, but they also discovered the abnormality of the divine corpse realm. This time, the heartbeat of the god's corpse had disappeared. Perhaps it would never sound again after the soul returned. The Sword Worship clan and the Tsani clan had already smelled the scent of war. The number of celestial techniques obtained by each clan was enough to change the entire waste region. The Bright Moon Ancient clan, the Xianyuan clan, and the Nine Suns clan appeared one after another. The Saint Stage experts of each clan and the many experts behind them stared at Long Chen and the others. The Bright Moon Ancient clan leader recalled the scene in the divine corpse realm and could not help but say in a deep voice, "Jian Fantian, are you really going to become enemies with the 3 one-star ancient clans for this kid? If you regret it now, the 4 great clans will work together to get rid of this person. The waste region's forces will still. What do you think?" Chapter 498. The beginning of the Great War. The people led by the Sword Worship clan were now inseparable from Long Chen. Many of the criticisms against Long Chen and the clan had also disappeared. The biggest reason was the elixirs and immortal techniques that they had obtained in the divine corpse realm. Long Chen had given nearly half of the things he had obtained to Jian Fantian for him to deal with. Such a magnanimous approach really made the people of the various clans admire him from the bottom of their hearts. These things also gave the Sword Worship clan and the others full of confidence. The Bright Moon Ancient clan looked coldly at the various clans led by the Sword Worship clan and Long Chen's group. Although they had more experts above the half-step saint realm than Long Chen and the others, their total number was much smaller. After all, Long Chen and the others had entered the divine corpse realm without any casualties. The various ancient clans led by the Bright Moon Ancient clan waved their hands and prepared to leave, as if they were going to regroup for the final battle. However, the moment they turned around, Long Chen suddenly took a step forward and said in a deep voice, "You want to leave just like that? Your Excellency, you'd better leave the boundary crossing stone and the 9 Suns true spirit behind. The 9 Suns true spirit and the boundary crossing stone were originally things that Longchen had prepared to gather the 2 clans before entering the Divine Corpse realm. However, after entering the Divine Corpse realm, he changed his mind. The faces of the Bright Moon Ancient clan and the 9 Suns clan darkened when they heard Longchen's words. The clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient clan stared coldly at Longchen and said, "Although we don't have as many people as you, it's hard to say who will win if we fight, boy. Although we don't know what kind of opportunities you have in the Divine Corpse realm, we won't be afraid of you if we fight now." The clan leader of the 9 Suns clan shouted coldly. In the Divine Corpse realm, they had seen with their own eyes that Longchen had captured Zhao Qi and then left the light gate they were in. However, they weren't sure what Longchen had obtained. However, with their current peak strength and number of people, they were definitely not afraid of Longchen and the others. The Swordsman clan and the others did not know what Longchen wanted to do. With the resources in their hands, as long as they returned to the clan, their core strength would increase greatly in a short period of time. It would not be difficult for them to suppress the other clans. It was unwise for Longchen to provoke the various races at this moment. Longchen smiled playfully. His right hand continued to draw in the air as he said indifferently, "The World Crossing Stone and the 9 Suns true spirit. No matter what, you won't be able to take these 2 items away today. Otherwise, how could I let you obtain them so easily in the God Corpse realm?" As Longchen's voice fell, rays of divine light flickered in all directions. Spatial cracks continued to appear, and one after another, tall and majestic figures appeared. Ancient Golden Lion Clan. Luo Yang looked down at everyone with an arrogant look on his face. There were dozens of Saint Realm cultivators behind him. When the people from the 9 Suns Ancient Clan and the Bright Moon Ancient Clan saw the people from the Golden Lion Clan, they took a few steps back. Longchen stared at Luo Yang and said in a deep voice, "You said you wanted to snatch the World Crossing Stone and the 9 Suns true spirit personally. Today, I'll give you the opportunity." Luo Yang nodded. There seemed to be divine flames burning in his eyes as he stared at the people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Luo Yang had broken off relations with the Bright Moon Ancient Clan because of the Moon Seed. After the Bright Moon Ancient Clan became the target of public criticism, the Golden Lion Clan unscrupulously suppressed the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Longchen did not stop the people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan because he had received news from Luo Yang through the formation. Luo Yang wanted the entire Golden Lion Clan to descend into the wasteland. In order to do so, he needed the World Crossing Stone. The Golden Lion Clan was a reclusive clan. They had their own independent space and almost never appeared in the wasteland. Longchen knew that there were more than 10 other ancient clans like him. These reclusive clans were all slightly stronger than a 1-star ancient clan. These people would be the core force in the Battle of Heaven Wasteland. Luo Yang stared at the people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and said, "Hand over the World Crossing Stone and the 9 Suns true spirit. You won't be able to take these 2 items away no matter what." The people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the 9 Suns Ancient Clan did not expect that Longchen had already discussed this with the Golden Lion Clan. At this moment, the top experts of the 2 clans were almost the same. However, there was a huge difference in the strength of the 2 clans. Golden Lion Clan, it seems that your clan has already decided to step on my Bright Moon Ancient Clan and enter the world. The clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan roared and shot up into the sky. At the same time, he said angrily to the people from the various ancient clans, "Since the battle of the Divine Corpse realm has ended, the battle between the 1-star ancient clans of the wasteland will begin today." As the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan roared, a new moon appeared behind him and covered the sky. The sky suddenly darkened. The Sword Worship Clan and the various vassal ancient clans instantly began to fight. As soon as the battle of the Divine Corpse realm ended, the various ancient clans began to fight. There were more than 100 Saint Realm experts here. There were also many half-saints. There were also many peak human emperors who were constantly attacking. After this battle, there would be no peace in the wasteland. The Sword Worship Clan and the other Saint Realm experts joined forces with the Golden Lion Clan to fight against the 3 1-star ancient clans and their many vassal ancient clans. For a moment, the sky darkened, and the saint power swept across thousands of miles like a tsunami. More than 100 Saint Realm experts all rose into the air and flew above the sky. The brilliant light almost streaked across the sky above the wasteland. At the same time, the clansmen of the various ancient clans who stayed behind activated the ancient clans formation. They knew that after today, the entire wasteland would be in chaos. The people of the Tsunji clan also joined the battle. Thousands of people who cultivated the golden body of the divine guards instantly activated the battle formation and charged forward. Longchen looked at the many Saint Realm experts in the sky and frowned slightly. He knew that if the battle continued like this, even if they won, the Sword Worship clan and the Golden Lion clan would pay a painful price. However, Longchen knew that compared to fighting in the Divine Corpse realm, which would attract countless demonic beasts to besiege them, the current situation was already quite good. Longchen shook his head and said to Ao Tsungcheong and the others, "Stand guard around me. I need a day." Ao Tsungcheong, Dongfang Jin, and the 3 divine beast war souls stood 100 meters away from Longchen to protect him. They all had powerful battle strength and now had suitable immortal techniques in their hands. It wasn't a problem for them to fight several Saint Realm experts together. With Dongfang Jin's order, the clansmen of the various clans approached them. Longchen casually took out the Saint Blood Spirit milk he obtained from the blood pool and swallowed it in one gulp. The Saint Blood Spirit milk was the essence of the entire blood pool. It was condensed from the power of the Divine Corpse realm's Saint Blood over countless years. It was extremely precious. Yi Hailan and Qing Xian, who stood in front of Longchen, couldn't help but look back. They couldn't help but be attracted by the Saint Blood Spirit milk. The power of the blood pool could allow half-saints of various clans to have the opportunity to step into the Saint realm. This Saint Blood Spirit milk could be seen clearly. Chapter 499. Transcendence into Holiness. Compared to the 9 Suns' true spirit, Longchen cared more about the world-crossing stone. Once this item was taken away, given the current situation of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, he would immediately return and open the passageway to the Tian Domain. Once the passage to the Heaven Domain was opened, the Battle of Heaven Wasteland would come early. Although Longchen knew that the Battle of Heaven Wasteland would eventually come, he needed to delay it as much as possible. He needed time. The experts of the various clans in the Heaven Domain were different from the ancient clans of the Wasteland. Within the Heaven Domain, not only were there Saint Realm experts, there were also Saint Kings and Saint Emperors. There were even supreme existences in the Heaven Domain who were at the Sovereign Realm. With Longchen's current half-saint cultivation, he was nothing. Bang bang bang. The sounds of the battle between the Saint Realm and the half-Saint Realm experts converged like thunder, and the mountains and rivers in the surroundings began to collapse. Countless spatial cracks appeared in the sky due to the bombardment of the Sage Stage experts. Die! Just as the battle between the ancient clans was at its most intense, 2 saints from the ancient clan of the 9 Suns and the ancient Xianyuan clan charged toward Longchen. The killing intent of the 4 Saint Realm cultivators was awe-inspiring. They all knew that Longchen's terrifying strength could not be measured by common sense. Longchen himself had the cultivation of a half-step saint, and only God knew what he was doing now. More than 10,000 golden-bodied divine guards soared into the sky and formed an indestructible shield, forcefully blocking the attacks of the intruders. At the same time, Ao Tsungcheong, Jianshi San, and the 3 mythological beast battle souls leaped out. The 3 mythical beast fighting souls turned around and transformed into fighting soul bodies. While Jianshi San directly used a secret technique, everyone worked together to pin down the 4 Saint Realm experts. The Saint Realm experts had gloomy expressions on their faces. They hadn't expected that not only Longchen, but even the people by his side had such combat strength. Their gazes were fixed on Longchen, who was sitting cross-legged. They could feel an unprecedented wave of saint energy from him. One of the Saint Realm experts couldn't help but shout, "This person is too strange. He probably obtained something unimaginable from the God Corpse realm. If he steps into the Saint Realm, then our clans will have another great calamity." Longchen's strength was well known among all the clans. He had stepped into the Sage Realm. Even if he was only at the initial stage of the Sage Realm, he would still become one of the top experts of the wasteland. The 4 cultivators of the Saint Plane charged forward in a frenzy. More than 10,000 cultivators of the golden body of the divine guards fell one after another. The strongest among them was only at the peak of the Runhuang realm. It was extremely rare for them to be able to hold on for so long under the frenzied attacks of 4 cultivators of the Saint Plane. Fighting Soul Body. The 3 mythical beast fighting souls whizzed out and transformed into body fighting souls to fight with the 4 Saint Realm experts. Yi Hailan, Qing Xian, and Ao Tsungqiong never left Long Chen's side. On the contrary, Jian Shisan and the 3 divine beast fighting souls were fighting against the Saint Realm experts. Jian Shisan's unprecedented talent in sword principle was fully displayed at this time. With the support of the secret technique, his combat strength had reached the half-step Saint Realm. He was able to contend with a Saint Realm expert with his extremely pure sword principle. On the other side, Jian Fantian and the others cooperated with the Golden Lion clan to suppress the other ancient clan's Saint Realm experts by relying on their numbers. However, it was not easy to kill opponents of the Saint Realm. This was especially true for the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Seeing that he was not sure of winning today's battle, he retreated while fighting with the clan leader of the Nine Suns clan. They were not stupid. They knew that as long as they brought the boundary crossing stone and the Nine Suns' true spirit back to their clan, they would completely change the situation of the wasteland. Half a day passed. The Saint Realm experts of the various clans fought for hundreds of thousands of miles. The bodies of the Saint Realm experts were shattered, causing strange phenomena in the world. The entire wasteland was completely shaken. Many ancient clans who did not participate in the battle began to flee the wasteland. The 3-headed Golden Lion clan was worthy of being a reclusive clan. The clan's combat strength was extremely strong. The chances of the Saint Realm experts in the clan all reached about 60%. Soon, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, the Nine Suns clan, the Xin Yuan clan, and the other ancient clans fell into a disadvantage. The 4 people who originally came to kill Longchen had no choice but to return to the battle of their clans. Seeing that the battlefield had moved hundreds of thousands of miles in a day, everyone sighed. After all, the battle of the Saint Realm shook the entire wasteland. The 3 divine beast fighting souls were covered in wounds. Fighting with 4 Saint Realm experts had put a great burden on them. However, the moment they approached Longchen, their expressions changed dramatically. Then, they sat cross-legged beside Longchen and entered a meditative state. Yi Hailan, Qing Xian, and the others looked at each other. They did not know what the 3 of them were doing. However, they could clearly feel that their auras were gradually merging with Longchen's. It was as if countless laws were connecting them together. At night, the bright moon rose into the sky. Rays of saint light exploded in the boundless sky. Countless rays of moonlight rose in the sky. There was even a boundless scorching sun rising. It was a strange phenomenon. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the Nine Suns Clan are ready to fight to the death. Ao Tsungqiong sighed as he looked at the strange phenomenon in the sky. The battle of one-star ancient clans only existed in many books. However, today, he was able to witness it for himself. Rumble. A mighty aura suddenly spread out from behind him. Yi Hailan, Qing Xian, Dongfang Jin, and Ao Tsungqiong were directly thrown tens of thousands of meters away. Everyone's face turned pale. The saint power around Longchen completely enveloped the 3 divine beast fighting souls. It was like a ring of flames in the night sky that was about to soar into the sky. Buzz. Longchen's expression was extremely painful. A shadow appeared out of thin air behind him. It turned out to be Longchen's divine soul. However, there seemed to be a magnificent hall rising and falling between the illusory divine soul. Dongfang Jin and the many people from the Tsangi clan felt their souls tremble. After just one glance, they suddenly prostrated themselves on the ground. Jian Shisan, Yi Hailan, and the others also felt the pressure from the soul. However, just as they could not help but kneel on the ground, a mighty voice came from Longchen's mouth. 13. Qing Xian, Yi Hailan, Dongfang Jin, Ascension. Come here. Long Chen's voice sounded as if he had experienced countless pain. Following his low shout, everyone's bodies seemed to be pulled to Long Chen's side, and they were side by side with the three divine beast fighting souls. Open your hearts and release your divine souls. Today, I will help all of you to transcend mortality and enter the divine realm. Long Chen ordered. The blood-red saint power in his body crazily poured into all of them. Everyone from the Tsanyi clan had a pious look on their faces. No one dared to raise their heads. Transcend mortality and enter the divine realm. Many people were shocked and envious when they heard these words. However, they did not know what kind of pain Long Chen was going through. He did not expect the Saint Blood spiritual elixir to be so powerful. Moreover, after he absorbed 30% of it, it began to repel his heavenly dragon vein. Chapter 500. Accident. The battle between the saints of the various clans had already spread to millions of miles away, but Long Chen and the others were connected by strands of saint power under the pious gazes of the Zhangji clan. Yi Hailan, Qing Xian, Jian San, and Ascension. Every single one of these people was a heaven-defying Tao child, far surpassing the younger generation of the wasteland. However, under normal circumstances, it would take them at least a few decades to reach the Saint Realm. And now, their original Renhuang plane was rapidly being broken through. Long Chen's divine sense was like a pair of giant hands, tearing apart their divine senses and shattering their barriers. In the past, even Long Chen would not have been able to do such a thing. However, at this moment, the Saint Blood elixir contained a powerful saint energy that was enough for him to convert everyone's spiritual energy into saint energy. Right now, what they were experiencing was somewhat similar to how Han Xian had been like a demon back then. His physical body had stepped into the saint realm first. Then, with the help of Long Chen's powerful spirit and comprehension, he had broken through. Above their heads, beams of divine light shot up into the 9 heavens. The light scattered across the firmament as if several light pillars were erected in the waste region. Millions of miles away, the Saint Realm powerhouses of the various clans stopped what they were doing and looked toward the light pillar in shock. What a powerful saint force! Someone is about to step into the Saint Realm. This direction is where the Zhangji clan used to be. Could it be Long Chen? If this person steps into the Saint Realm, the number of people in the wasteland who can suppress him can be counted on one hand. That's not right. It's not just one person who's going to enter the Saint Realm. The people of various races cried out in surprise. Ever since the God Corpse realm, there had been a continuous stream of half-saints from various races breaking through. However, every single one of them was an existence that had been stagnating for dozens or even hundreds of years. The high-level saints of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, the Nine Suns Ancient Clan, and the Xianyuan Clan looked at each other. They knew that this was their last chance. They had a lot of fear for Long Chen. If Long Chen really broke through to the Saint Realm, it was very likely that they would be left here forever. While everyone was still in shock, countless moon shadows appeared in the sky. Not good. The moment Yuing appeared, the dozen or so saints of the Golden Lion clan immediately transformed into their bloodline true forms. Then, rays of golden light intertwined in their huge mouths and blasted towards Yuing in the sky. Inherited immortal technique, lunar shadow evasion. As soon as the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan gave the order, a bright moon rose behind the saints of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The Nine Suns Clan and the Xianyuan Clan quickly retreated, taking advantage of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's power to escape the encirclement of the Sage Realm experts. The Saint Realm experts led by Jian Fantian of the Swordsman Clan were stunned for a moment before their expressions changed and they immediately gave chase. Bang bang bang. In the firmament, there seemed to be countless moon shadows exploding. For a moment, the color of the sky changed. The Saint Realm experts of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan fell one after another. The Nine Suns Clan leader's chest was also pierced by Jian Fantian's sword and fell from the sky. The clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan led many Saint Realm experts and left with serious injuries through the passage opened by the deaths of more than 10 Saint Realm experts. Golden Lion Clan, Swordsman Clan, and Sangji Clan, your doomsday is coming. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan disappeared into the spatial rift. The Xianyuan Clan also took advantage of the chaos to escape. Only the Nine Suns Clan and more than 10 Saint Realm experts were surrounded. The experts of the Swordsman Clan and the Golden Lion Clan looked at the land that was riddled with holes. Each of their expressions was uglier than the other. They had won the battle, but the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan left with the world-crossing stone. They knew that a storm that would sweep across the entire wasteland was coming. The clan leader of the Nine Suns Clan and nearly 20 Saint Realm experts were surrounded by the Golden Lion Clan led by Jian Fantian and Luo Yang. In the end, they were captured without a fight. The sword wound on the clan leader of the Nine Suns Clan's chest quickly disappeared. He looked coldly at Jian Fantian and said in a deep voice, "The Bright Moon Ancient Clan has left. The gate of the celestial domain is about to open. What awaits you is judgment." Luo Yang and the Saint Realm experts of the clan, as well as Jian Fantian and the others, sealed the cultivation of the Nine Suns Clan's members. They stepped onto the path and headed toward the light pillars in the sky. When they arrived at where Longchen was, they were shocked by the scene in front of them. With Longchen as the center, everyone seemed to be bathed in an ocean of saint power. The strong fluctuations made even the Saint Realm experts blush with shame. The entire Sangji clan turned around in an instant. Their pious faces turned vigilant as they stared at the crowd. Jian Fantian waved his hand slightly, indicating for everyone to stay put and wait for Longchen and the others to wake up. The Golden Lion Clan led by Luo Yang also frowned and stood in place. They waited for the sun and the moon to alternate. A full 5 days had passed. The light pillars in the sky gradually dissipated. Longchen also gradually began to slash. At this moment, the aura on his body was extremely violent. Saint power spread out from his dantian like waves of tides. Jian Shan, Ao Tsungqiong, Yi Hailan, and Qing Xian. The three divine beast fighting souls, and even Dongfang Jin's eyes were shining with divine light. They had all stepped into the Saint Realm. Longchen walked at the front. His cultivation sometimes emitted the aura of the Saint Realm and sometimes it fell to the half-Saint Realm. However, the terrifying aura emitted from his body was not weaker than anyone behind him. Longchen's gaze immediately fell on the Nine Suns Clan leader and the others. He frowned and said, "Has the boundary crossing stone in the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's hands been taken away?" Jian Fantian and the other Saint Realm experts of the Swordsman Clan looked gloomy, but they did not say anything. On the other hand, the Nine Suns Clan leader stared at Longchen and sneered. He said, "Longchen, in terms of cultivation and opportunity, I have never seen anyone like you. However, now that the Bright Moon Ancient Clan has left, once the Heavenly Domain passage opens, I'm afraid you will only end up dead. Jian Fantian, Luo Yang, if you join forces to take down Longchen, you may be able to save your clansmen from disaster." Bang! As soon as the Nine Suns Clan leader finished speaking, a black and white light shot out from Longchen's eyes and directly shattered his entire head. Then, Longchen grabbed the air with his right hand and pulled the clan leader's body into the air. Flaming characters spiraled out of Longchen's right arm and wrapped around the Nine Suns Clan leader's body. Under everyone's gaze, the Nine Suns Clan leader's Saint Realm physical body turned into ashes and his divine spirit was also crushed by Longchen. Longchen's eyes were extremely cold, causing the remaining Saint Realm experts of the Nine Suns Clan to feel as if they had fallen into an ice cave. They had never imagined that Longchen would be able to annihilate their patriarch's soul with just a wave of his hand. Even the Saint Realm experts of the Golden Lion Clan and the Swordsman Clan could not help but twitch their eyes. Although the Nine Suns Clan had been captured, they did not have the courage to kill the clan leader. However, Longchen acted as if he had done something insignificant. It was as if the Saint Realm was not worth mentioning in his eyes. Chapter 501. Chapter 500. The beginning of war. In the face of Longchen's questioning, Luo Yang's face darkened. Just as he was about to speak, the Sage Realm experts behind him sneered. One of the men, who was over 50 years old and had a chiseled face, stepped forward and snorted coldly, "So what if you escaped? Who do you think you are to question my clan? It is rumored that you once slaughtered a saint when you were in the Runhuang Plain. Today, I would like to try it myself. What's going on with this aura that's neither sage nor sage? On the contrary, the people behind him have all become sages. Your Excellency's methods have shocked us, but you don't have the right to question us." Luo Yang's expression turned even uglier when he heard this. Just as Longchen had said, he had indeed discussed this matter with Longchen beforehand. Due to his hatred for the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, he wanted to personally kill the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and take back the boundary crossing stone. However, he failed on the verge of success and did not even get the boundary crossing stone. But just as he was about to reprimand Longchen, he saw the three figures behind Longchen disappear. Rumble! 3 streams of light instantly appeared behind him. The 3 saints who had just spoken were blasted into the ground in the blink of an eye. Many of the Golden Lion clan's Saint Realm experts, including Luo Yang, subconsciously retreated. Their eyes were filled with shock. Just now, the 3 powerful saint energies had actually caused them to have an illusion of fear and trepidation. Otherwise, with their cultivation level, why would they have dodged at the first moment instead of counterattacking? However, when they reacted and looked toward the 3 heavens ravine that stretched for 1,000 meters, they saw 3 people appearing before the door with cold expressions. These 3 people were the burly Tao Tai fighting soul, the skinny Yazi fighting soul with sunken eyes, and the Kirin girl with flames all over her body. The 3 of them stood in the air, holding the heads of 3 golden lions in their hands. Their physical bodies were in tatters. As long as their heads were destroyed, only their souls would be left. Luo Yang and the many Saint Realm experts behind him couldn't help but gasp. None of them had expected the 3 people who had been standing behind Longchen to attack them in the blink of an eye. They had even killed 3 Saint Realm experts. The Yazi fighting soul stared at the Golden Lion tribe and said in a hoarse voice, "If anyone dares to disrespect my master again, this will be the outcome." The faces of the Golden Lion clan's Saint Realm experts darkened as they glared at Longchen and the others. In an instant, swords were drawn. "Enough!" Luo Yang shouted. Then, he stared at Longchen and took a deep breath. He said in a deep voice, "I have underestimated the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. I have indeed miscalculated." Longchen stared at Luo Yang and snorted coldly without saying anything. The fact that the boundary crossing stone had been taken away by the Bright Moon Ancient Clan meant that the Battle of Heaven Wasteland domain had been brought forward by at least 3 months. However, since things had come to this point, it could only be attributed to the will of the heavens. Even without the Golden Lion clan, he would have to pay a great price to stop the Bright Moon Ancient Clan from obtaining the boundary crossing stone in the Divine Corpse realm. Let's put this matter aside for the time being. I want to uproot the Bright Moon Ancient Clan within a month. Golden Lion Clan, your clan, and the Bright Moon Ancient Clan are like fire and water. I hope that you can join forces with the other reclusive clans to suppress the Xianyuan clan and the Nine Suns clan as much as possible during this period. I believe that you reclusive clans know better than us what kind of disaster will befall the people of the Tian domain when they come to the ancient desolate land. After Longchen finished speaking, he looked deeply at Luo Yang. A trace of saint power entered Luo Yang's glabella. He then said faintly, "If you use this trace of saint power well, you may have a chance to enter the saint realm." After saying that, Longchen led the Zhangji clan and the Swordsman clan away and headed to the 5th battlefield. Luo Yang stroked a strange pattern on his glabella with his right hand and stared at Longchen's back for a long time. He could not calm down. If these words had been said by others, he would have ignored them. However, many saints were born at the same time by Longchen's side, so he knew that these words were not empty words. Luo Yang was the most powerful person among the Golden Lion clan's heaven-defying path children. Now that he had the cultivation of a sage-to-be, his combat strength was not inferior to that of a Saint Realm expert. Therefore, Longchen wanted to help him. Luo Yang was in a daze for a long time. He then said to the many saints behind him, "The Tianyu passage will open in less than 3 months. Quickly inform the reclusive clans to prepare to enter the world." Without the boundary crossing stone, the clans will have to pay a high price to enter the world. However, if they know that the Tianyu passage is about to open, they should agree. On the 5th battlefield. After returning, Longchen did not hesitate to issue orders. The 3 divine beast fighting souls led 10,000 peak human sovereign realm experts who cultivated the golden body of divine guards and left the clan. Longchen did not know whether to laugh or cry. Ao Tsungcheong actually suppressed his cultivation from the saint realm to the sage-to-be level. After hearing Longchen's words about the opening of the Tianyu passage, he decided to return to the Dark Star organization for the second time. 13. Qing Xian, Yi Hailan, for the next month, I want to teach you the art of battle matrix. Longchen called the 3 of them to an empty mountain stream. The 3 of them were different from the divine beast fighting souls. The 3 divine beast fighting souls themselves had inherited talents. Once their cultivation reached a certain level, they would naturally have the support of battle techniques and magical powers. Therefore, they had the combat strength to crush those of the same level as soon as they stepped into the Saint Realm, Jianshi San, Qing Xian, and Yi Hailan. Although the 3 of them had stepped into the Saint Realm at this moment, there were still many things that they needed to cultivate. With their combat strength, they had to rely on the art of battle matrix to survive in the upcoming Battle of Tianhuang region. The sun rose and set. After getting along with each other for a month, Jianshi San was like a piece of wood. Once he got into swordsmanship, he did not care about anything else. Qing Xian also gradually felt Longchen's feelings for Yi Hailan. That kind of feeling came from the tacit understanding in their bones. The 2 of them complemented each other's actions in swordsmanship. However, neither of them revealed this layer of relationship. Yi Hailan kept alienating Longchen, except for normal communication. On the other hand, the entire Waste Realm had undergone earth-shaking changes in this month. Many powerful forces under the Bright Moon Ancient Clan had been uprooted. The army of 10,000 people led by the 3 divine beast fighting souls had left an illustrious reputation among the clans of the Waste Realm. Half a month ago, the sword-serving clan had also acted contrary to their usual behavior and launched a high-profile surprise attack on the 3rd and 2nd battlefields. In just half a month, the sword-serving clan had suppressed the Saint Realm experts of various clans and seized the 2 battlefields in one fell swoop. The Saint Realm experts in the sword-serving clan, as well as the half-saints and the human sovereign realm experts, all possessed immortal techniques and swordsmanship that made people envious. The combat strength of the sword-serving clan had almost reached an unprecedented peak. Longchen read the information sent by the 3 divine beast fighting souls one by one. Then, with a wave of his hand, he threw the 9 Suns' true spirit, which he had seized from the 9 Suns clan leader, onto the long sword that had never been unsheathed. 3 swords. A short and cold female voice entered Longchen's mind, making Longchen not know whether to laugh or cry. However, he knew that it was time for him to lead everyone to join the team to eradicate the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Chapter 502. Divergence 3 Swords. A 9 Suns true spirit was such a precious item, yet it was only exchanged for the ability to use 3 swords. Longchen put away his sword with a wry smile and walked over to the Zhangji clan. Jianshi San, Qing Xian, and Yi Hailan were already waiting outside. There were more than 20,000 people behind them. These people were at least in the late stage of the Runhuang realm, and there were more than a dozen in the half-saint realm. They were all proficient in battle matrices. However, there were also many new faces among them. During this month, people from all over the wasteland region had come to join the Zhangji clan, and Longchen still accepted them according to the rules of the past. Dongfang Jin stayed behind to guard the Zhangji clan while Longchen led everyone out. On the 2nd day after Longchen and the others left, the news had spread to almost all the major ancient clans. At this moment, Longchen's reputation was no less than any of the ancient clan leaders. There were even rumors that the rise of the sword-bearing clan was closely related to Longchen. After all, from the beginning to the end, only the Shijian clan and Longchen had never broken off contact. As for the 3 divine beast war souls, they had become characters that caused people's expressions to change when they talked about them. It was said that only 5,000 of the 10,000 sons that the three of them had led were left. However, each and every one of them was an elite among elites. They were even given a nickname by their clansmen, the Three Great Blood Butchers. With 5,000 people, the three mythological beast-fighting souls had destroyed at least a quarter of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's forces and strongholds. In one of the battles, he had killed more than 10,000 people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, including 6 Saint Realm experts. This also made Longchen feel very gratified. The fighting strength of the three mythological beasts had increased by several levels after reaching the Sage Realm. Jianshi-san asked Longchen, "Master, where are we going now?" Longchen paused for a moment before replying, "The Bright Moon Ancient Clans. Clan ground." As the crowd headed towards the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, all the people they encountered along the way retreated. Longchen did not seem to be in a hurry. As they gradually approached the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's territory, more and more strongholds appeared. Longchen obviously wanted to use them to train Jianshi-san and the others. It had to be said that the sword-worshipping clan had grown stronger after returning from the Divine Corpse realm. However, the same was true for the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. It was just that the resources they obtained were far inferior to the Sword Worship clan. Jianshi-san and Qing Xian's battle prowess was extremely strong. Under the coordination of the battle formation, they were practically unstoppable. On the other hand, Yi Heilan's battle prowess was slightly weaker. The reason for this was the shackles of her bloodline. As long as she did not awaken her thousand-severing physique, her battle prowess would still be incomparable to Qing Xian and the others even though she was extraordinarily talented. In just 1.5 months, the entire Bright Moon Ancient Clan had lost almost 60% of their forces. The various battlefields were also being invaded. However, whether it was the sword-worshipping clan or the Golden Lion clan, all the reclusive clans knew that the most difficult place to conquer was the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's territory within 1,000,000 miles. When Longchen and the others were about to arrive within 1,000,000 miles of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's territory, the joint forces of various clans were dealing with the aftermath at a mountain range of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's branch. Longchen looked at this place from afar and immediately felt the attraction of the three divine beast-fighting souls. As Longchen's mighty team approached, the reclusive clans and many ancient clans became vigilant. "Halt! Report the name of your force." Longchen and the others stopped. Jianshi-san stepped forward and said, "The Tsangji clan." As soon as Jianshi-san's voice fell, the various ancient clans who were in the stage of dividing up the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's branches turned their heads to look. There were even a few high-ranking members of the ancient clans who walked towards Longchen and the others. At this moment, the three divine beast-fighting souls had also sensed Longchen's arrival and were approaching him. "The Tsangji clan? I don't know if you are the core team of the Tsangji clan. The Tsangji clan is now as famous as the 4 one-star ancient clans, but there aren't many Saint Realm experts in this team. Is the leader in the middle Longchen? He's so young. Does he really have the battle prowess that the rumors say?" The name of the Tsangji clan caused a lot of discussion among the various clans. Among them, many of the ancient clans were in awe and many of the reclusive clans looked at him with contempt. Compared to some 2-star ancient clans, these reclusive clans were incomparably arrogant. They probably didn't even take the 1-star ancient clans seriously. Just as everyone was talking, the three divine beast-fighting souls came together. The three divine beast-fighting souls were now full of bloody aura. They really looked like war gods on the battlefield. "Greetings, Master." The moment the three of them saw Longchen, they immediately knelt on one knee with a respectful look on their faces. When the surrounding people saw this, they couldn't help but sigh. The three blood slaughterers were famous in the waste domain, but they didn't expect them to have such a side. I didn't expect the three blood slaughterers to be so humble. How rare, how rare. Seeing this, several Saint Realm experts in the crowd clicked their tongues. Longchen suddenly frowned and waved his hand to signal the three divine beasts to dispense with the formalities. He then asked the Yazi fighting soul in a deep voice, "Who are these people?" Longchen acted as if he didn't hear the words of these Saint Realm experts. The Yazzie fighting soul snorted and looked at them fiercely. Then, it respectfully said to Longchen, "They are from the Hidden Alliance." Although the Golden Lion clan persuaded all the reclusive clans to come out and form an alliance, they are all arrogant and domineering. Upon hearing this, Longchen glanced at them and then walked away with Jianshirsan and the others and the 3 divine beast fighting souls. He didn't have the intention to pay attention to these Saint Realm experts. Seeing Longchen and the others leave, a middle-aged man who was the leader of the Saint Realm experts from the reclusive clans snorted and said, "I really don't understand why the Tsangji clan has such a status. Is it because of this immature boy? The Sword Worship clan is now not weaker than the top few reclusive clans, but they don't want to join the alliance. Instead, they follow the Tsangji clan everywhere." The few Sage Realm experts behind this person were also a little angry at Longchen's unyielding attitude and disregard just now. "We must find a way to integrate the Tsangji clan and the Sword Worship clan. They don't know what will happen after the Heavenly Domain passage is opened. Next, we must use some means to let them know who the core strength is in the future battles." At this moment, Longchen had already gone deep into the rear of the Haoyu ancient clan under the leadership of the 3 divine beast fighting souls. He had clearly explored the plans of the Hidden Alliance with his divine thought. However, he didn't have any other reaction except for a smile at the corner of his mouth. Longchen looked at the people of the Haoyu ancient clan who were being slaughtered in front of him and frowned slightly. He said in a deep voice, "Ask them to stop." The Yazzie fighting soul motioned for everyone to stop, but the people on the other side were still slaughtering. Chapter 503. Breakthrough. Longchen stared at the trembling members of the Bright Moon ancient clan in front of him as the crystal ball made from the essence of the moon god appeared in his right hand. Then, the saint energy in Longchen's hand was like a tidal wave as waves of ripples fell toward the people of the Haoyu ancient clan. Moon god essence. The moment the ripples spread, many members of the Bright Moon ancient clan revealed shocked expressions. The moon god's purification was the most precious item in the forbidden area of the Bright Moon ancient clan. For a moment, everyone felt as if they were bathing in the warm sunlight, and they couldn't help but close their eyes. However, right at this time, a streak of moonlight from each of their dantians turned into countless threads that shot towards Longchen. This was the unique bloodline essence of the Bright Moon ancient clan. Now that Longchen had used the saint energy and the moon god's essence to refine the instrument, he could completely absorb the bloodline essence of these people in front of him, which was the moonlight power. Of course, the premise was that these people had not reached the saint realm. Otherwise, unless they were completely suppressed, they would not be able to do this. In less than 10 breaths of time, the captives of the Bright Moon ancient clan led by the 3 divine beast fighting souls fell weakly to the ground. Everyone stared at Longchen. Longchen said calmly, "From now on, you are no longer members of the Bright Moon ancient clan." Longchen's voice fell into the ears of every member of the Bright Moon ancient clan. Their expressions were extremely complicated. Now, all of them had almost become ordinary people, but because of this, they were able to retain their lives. In this chaotic battle of the desolate region, it was already not easy for the loser to survive. Seeing that Longchen had let many people from the Bright Moon ancient clan go, the faces of the surrounding clans turned gloomy. In the distance, the few Saint Realm experts who had mocked Longchen earlier also walked over. "Your Excellency, do you think it's enough to cripple their cultivation? So naive." The middle-aged sage didn't even bat an eyelid as he spoke. His tone was somewhat contemptuous. The surrounding ancient clans also seemed to have some opinions about Longchen. The rise of the desolate race led by Longchen had already been acknowledged by the various clans. However, his act of letting go of the disciples of the Bright Moon ancient clan had caused the various clans to be extremely displeased. Longchen stared at the saint stage powerhouses from the reclusive clans and said indifferently, "It's not up to you to comment on how my clan does things." The Saint Realm experts from the reclusive families were stunned, and their faces turned ashen. The middle-aged man stared at Longchen as if he was looking at an idiot and said, "Rumor has it that you are strong, but now it seems that you are just a young boy. We are fighting with the Bright Moon ancient clan. If you let them go, they will return to the Bright Moon ancient clan tomorrow." The people in the surroundings nodded one after another. Obviously, they also felt that Long Chen's actions were inappropriate. Long Chen shook his head, unwilling to argue with this person. Although this person's words were all from the perspective of the battle, in reality, his eyes were full of ridicule and contempt. At this moment, Long Chen didn't want to fight against the hidden families. Long Chen ignored the crowd and ordered the Tao Tai Fighting Soul and the other two, from now on, release the human kings from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan who are not of a high enough realm. I will destroy the cultivation of those who are above the human kings. After finishing his words, Long Chen led the crowd away. He is indeed a young boy who is still wet behind the ears. At this moment, he is still thinking about saving people. This person's talent is the highest I have ever seen in my life. However, he is too young. How can he know the pros and cons? I really don't know why the Sword Worship clan is so protective of the Zhangji clan. This person is simply an idiot. Upon hearing Long Chen's words, the crowd was in an uproar. They were furious that Long Chen had let the Bright Moon Ancient clan go, and they began to criticize Long Chen. On the other side, Long Chen asked the Tao Tai Fighting Soul and the other two, among the Saint Realm experts from the hidden families, which clan is the leader from? What is his name? The Tao Tai Fighting Soul replied, he is from the Amethyst Ghost clan. Jing Zishan. He is the previous Taoist of this clan. He reached the Saint Realm at the age of 50. The Amethyst Ghost clan? This clan was indeed very powerful among the hidden families. It was normal for them to have the right to speak in the Hidden Family Alliance. Long Chen pondered for a moment and nodded. He then asked the Yazi Fighting Soul and the others, do you also think that it was wrong for me to let the Bright Moon Ancient clan go? The three of them hurriedly said in a deep voice, we dare not. Shaking his head, Long Chen looked at the three of them and said, letting them go may not be a bad thing. Yi Hailan nodded subconsciously but did not say anything. Seeing that no one said anything, Long Chen continued, now that the Bright Moon Ancient clan has become a turtle in a jar, the Hidden Family Alliance has arrived one after another. The Sword Worship clan has led many two-star ancient clans here, killing all the Bright Moon Ancient clans that we encounter will only force them into a dead end. A centipede dies but never falls down. When the time comes, the resistance will be fierce. Rather than that, it is better to give them a chance to live. Everyone suddenly understood. In fact, what Long Chen had said was only part of the reason. The main reason was that in the upcoming Battle of Heaven Wasteland, it was most important to preserve one's strength. However, the ancient clans had not thought of this at all. They only wanted to quickly take down the Bright Moon Ancient clan with iron-blooded means. In the next few days, everyone continued to advance into the depths of the Bright Moon Ancient clan. During this period, they would encounter a battle every few days, but in the end, the Bright Moon Ancient clan was defeated. Long Chen still released all the captives of the Bright Moon Ancient clan after destroying their cultivation. This also became a joke among the Hidden Family Alliance. However, at this moment, the Hidden Family Alliance led by Jing Zishan did not go overboard. After all, their common target was the Bright Moon Ancient clan. 30% of the people from the Sword Worship clan and the other forces had joined the team to attack the Bright Moon Ancient clan. The main forces of the Sword Worship clan and the Hidden Family Alliance were now facing the Xianyuan clan and the Jiuyang clan to isolate the Bright Moon Ancient clan. In the process of advancing, Jing Zishan had become the leader of the various ancient clans. Except for the Sword Worship clan and the Tsangi clan, almost all the other ancient clans followed his lead. After several days of continuous advancement, everyone soon discovered an extremely strange phenomenon. As they advanced, their attacks became simpler. Many of the Bright Moon Ancient clans no longer resisted, surrendered, and even fled when they knew that they had no chance of winning. The most comical scene was that the Bright Moon Ancient clans, whose cultivation was above the human sovereign realm and had some status, kept fleeing to the next city after Long Chen destroyed their cultivation. Instead, the subsequent resistance was so weak that it could not withstand a single blow. Seeing that they were about to reach the core area of the Bright Moon Ancient clan, Baohenia Mountain's face turned pale. This was because along the way, more and more ancient clans had handed over their captives to Long Chen so that he could destroy their cultivation and then let them go. Chapter 504. Moonlight like tides. Seeing that they were about to reach the core area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, everyone became alert. The current scene was very similar to that of Mount Cohen. The core forces had already gathered here. Everyone knew that although they had been unstoppable along the way, the next few days would be the final battle. The core forces of the major clans were used to resist the Xianyuan and Nine Suns clans, so they could not come to support them. It would not be easy for the various major forces to break through the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The reason why it was called the core area of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was that the entire sky was like a curtain of night. Moonlight sprinkled down from the sky. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan was originally the leader of the 4 major ancient clans in the Waste region. Roar! Just as everyone was hesitating and did not step into the place where the curtain of night fell, huge flying demonic beasts covered the sky and the sun. There were thousands of people on the demonic beasts, each of them wearing heavy armor. Their murderous aura was like a tide, and the moonlight rose and fell one after another. It was frightening. On the backs of the 2 huge demonic beasts was a huge round wheel. On the wheel, the moonlight seemed to be dancing like lightning arcs, drawing a complicated pattern in the air. Jing Zishan frowned when he saw such a formation. However, he immediately looked at Long Chen and the people from the Sword Worship clan and sneered. Long Chen, Jian Wufeng, you 2 lead the various clans to attack the beasts on the left side of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. We will take the right side. As soon as he finished speaking, Jing Zishan did not give them any time to react. He led the entire army into the place where the curtain of night fell. At this moment, Jing Zishan led 50 Saint Realm experts, 100 half-saints, and tens of thousands of human sovereigns. However, in comparison, Long Chen and the Sword Worship clan had less than 20 Saint Realm experts. Seeing Jing Zishan's departure, Jian Wufeng, Long Chen, and the others' faces darkened. Jian Wufeng said gloomily, Jing Zishan has been too relaxed all this time. Does he really think that the Bright Moon Ancient Clan is a pushover? Long Chen shook his head and replied, let's attack. Things have already come to this point. If we don't attack, I'm afraid they will be completely annihilated. They will lose everything. Long Chen's words caused Jian Wufeng to shiver. Jian Wufeng was the strongest of the previous generation Dao children of the Worshipping Sword clan. His cultivation had already reached the 4th level of the Saint Realm. When he led the experts of the Worshipping Sword clan here, he had already received a death order from Jian Fantian. They were to treat Long Chen as their leader. If they showed any disrespect, they would be dealt with as traitors. In truth, even with this order, when Jian Wufeng saw how young Long Chen was, he could not help but look down on him. But these days, along the way, Long Chen's grasp of the situation and the combat power of his subordinates had exceeded his imagination. This made him gradually trust Long Chen. Following Long Chen's order, Jian Wufeng led many cultivators and renwings of the clan into the night. Long Chen led the 3 mythological beast souls and Jian Shan to follow closely behind. The moment they stepped into the night, everyone felt a chill invade their bodies. This feeling was extremely strange. A moment ago, it was still a blazing sun, but in the next moment, it was as dark as the winter night. Bang! 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 The sound of explosions rang out continuously. Many people in the group behind Long Chen turned into white ice crystals out of thin air. A gust of cold wind blew past and turned them into ice shards. Even the moment their divine souls appeared, it was the same. Jian Wufeng felt the bone-chilling aura around him. At this moment, he finally understood why Long Chen said that if he did not make a move, he would lose everything. Formation! Formation! Loud shouts rang out from all directions. Behind Long Chen, the light of the battle formation lit up. Only then did the explosion stop abruptly. However, many people's eyes were filled with horror. In the short time they entered this place, they had lost hundreds of renwings. On the other side, the group led by Jing Zishan suffered the same fate. They had lost at least 1,000 renwings. If it were not for Long Chen and the others who followed closely behind and shared part of this strange force, the renwings among them would have suffered heavy losses. In the sky above, on the backs of two huge flying demonic beasts, there were nearly 20,000 people in the Bright Moon Ancient clan. Among them, there were 5 saints and dozens of semi-saints. 2 Saint Realm powerhouses of the Bright Moon Ancient clan walked to the heads of the giant beasts. Their eyes were full of mockery. One of them shouted coldly, "Do you think that the Bright Moon Ancient clan is vulnerable these days? Today, it's time to pay the price." Following this person's order, moonlight shot up from the backs of the 2 giant demonic beasts. New moons appeared in the night sky. Then, the bone-chilling cold became more and more condensed. White ice crystals were constantly condensing in the air. An inexplicable pressure instantly enveloped everyone. Moonlight, the weapon used to refine the moon. The 2 Saint Realm powerhouses of the Bright Moon Ancient clan stood on the heads of the 2 giant beasts and said in unison. The moonlight that rushed out from the backs of the Bright Moon Ancient clan powerhouses on the backs of the giant beasts was like a waterfall after passing through the new moons. Tens of thousands of moonlight sprinkled down like a waterfall. In the end, they converged like rivers on the giant round wheels on the backs of the 2 demonic beasts. Swoosh! Swoosh! Rumble! The loud noise was accompanied by a glaring light that illuminated the night sky. The giant round wheels on the backs of the 2 demonic beasts swayed straight up. The surrounding space cracks spread out like a spider web. The new moons in the sky disappeared. Only the 2 bright moon wheels were left. Kill! 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 After the Saint Realm powerhouse of the Bright Moon Ancient clan gave the order, the clansmen behind him shouted. For a moment, the atmosphere was solemn. Moonlight surged out from the round wheels. Each moonlight turned into a half-moon weapon and fell toward Longchen, Jing Zishan, and the other forces. Countless half-moon weapons gathered. The speed at which they fell was beyond everyone's imagination. The scene was like a tsunami that blotted out the sky and covered the sun. Even Jian Wufeng's face froze. He was shocked by the terrifying scene. Only Longchen's face was gloomy. He ordered, "Activate all battle formations. All golden-bodied divine guards, activate the soul-burning technique and defend with all your might. Jianshi San, 3 war souls, Yi Hailan, Qing Xian, and all Saint Realm powerhouses, attack one of the giant beasts." On the other side, Jian Wufeng also heard Longchen's order. The tacit understanding they had built up over the past few days allowed him to react immediately. The 2 giant wheels and 2 torrents fell instantly. Countless mournful screams resounded throughout the space. The moonlight was like a tide. Wherever it passed, flesh and blood turned into powder. Even divine souls were crushed. The core team led by Jing Zishan was swallowed up by the moonlight in an instant. Rays of light fluctuated within the moonlight. No one knew how many people died in an instant. Bang! 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 Chapter 505. Soul Cutter. In an instant, the sky full of brilliance fell on the huge head of one of the demonic beasts. One of the Saint Realm experts of the Bright Moon Ancient clan who was on the giant beast's head suddenly staggered. Seeing the attacks of Longchen and the other monk scripture experts coming at him, he had no choice but to divert his attention to defend himself. No one had expected that Longchen and the others would attack the giant beast under the feet of the Bright Moon Ancient clan at such a critical moment. Following the distraction of this Sage Realm expert, the moonlight surrounding Longchen and the others instantly dissipated. The other one, the head of the giant beast. Longchen's voice did not have the slightest hesitation. Many of the Saint Plain cultivators attacked again. The following situation was almost the same. Under such a powerful attack, the people of the Bright Moon Ancient clan seemed to have abandoned their defensive power. Longchen's first reaction opened up a gap for everyone. Retreat! With a loud shout, Longchen led the Zhangji clan and the sword-bearing clan away from Nightfall. Seeing that Longchen and the others had managed to pin down the lunar tide, the power of the lunar tide had greatly decreased. Jing Zishan was also shocked as he led everyone out of the night sky. Everyone retreated out of the night sky. Everyone retreated tens of thousands of meters with lingering fear. However, the two groups of people from the Bright Moon Ancient clan did not chase after them. They just stood on the giant beasts and stared at everyone with gloomy expressions. Although the battle seemed short, it was actually extremely dangerous. If Longchen hadn't followed Jing Zishan into the nighttime region and switched from defense to offense, attacking the giant beast, he wouldn't have been able to escape. It was likely that Jing Zishan and the others would be completely wiped out. Even a Saint Realm expert would be suppressed by the terrifying moon tide. If they couldn't escape, they would be obliterated in the end. Outside the curtain of night, everyone looked at each other in dismay, each of them panting heavily. The expressions of the members of the Sword Worship clan were extremely gloomy. If Jing Zishan hadn't acted rashly, they wouldn't have been in such danger, and they wouldn't have lost so much combat strength. Almost half of the Centaur human Sovereign Realm experts led by Jing Zishan had died. 5 half-saints had died, and 1 Saint Realm expert was only left with his divine soul. Even Longchen and the Swordsman clan had lost nearly 1,000 Renhuangs. Whoosh! Whoosh! Rays of light instantly landed in front of Longchen, Jian Wufeng, and the others. The person leading them was none other than Jing Zishan. Did you already know that the Bright Moon Ancient clan had such a powerful magical treasure battle formation at night? Why didn't you report this earlier? Jing Zishan shouted at Longchen with a furious expression. Jing Zishan! Seeing Jing Zishan approach, Jian Wufeng was instantly enraged. Jian Wufeng slashed out with his sword. The 2 saints beside Jing Zishan attacked at the same time, instantly pushing him back 100 meters. Then, Jing Zishan actually led many Saint Realm experts from the Hermit clans to surround Longchen and the others. Longchen's mouth curved into a cold arc. Behind him, the 3 mythological beast war souls and Jian Shersan glared at him. They never thought that Jing Zishan would attack them as soon as they walked out of the darkness. If Longchen hadn't handled the situation well, everyone led by Jing Zishan would have died in there. Yet, Jing Zishan didn't show any gratitude. Instead, he wanted to shift all the blame onto Longchen. Everyone present was talking about it. No one thought that at this time, the higher-ups of the 2 sides would be at each other's throats. Longchen stared at Jing Zishan, and his voice turned cold. He said in a low voice, "What I want to do. I never have to report to you." As Longchen's voice fell, he suddenly disappeared from where he stood. At this moment, the 2 of them were less than 10 meters apart. In the blink of an eye, Longchen appeared in front of Jing Zishan. Jing Zishan's eyes suddenly narrowed. His aura suddenly surged, and divine light immediately enveloped his entire body. A fist as heavy as a mountain attacked Longchen. Longchen's long sword moved forward, and dragon essence shot out. Rumble! Their attacks instantly intertwined, and an invisible wave of chi spread out with the 2 of them as the center. The powerhouses at the peak of the Renhuang realm around them couldn't help but be thrown hundreds of meters away by the impact of the vast saint power. Even the saints around them were pushed back a few meters by the sudden exchange of blows between the 2. Jing Zishan's entire right arm suddenly burst into a rain of blood. His entire body flew backward until it reached a height of 10,000 meters. His face was full of shock as he stared at Longchen. In his eyes, Longchen still hadn't stepped into the Saint Realm, but the power of this attack made him feel as if he had encountered a powerhouse at the later stage of the Saint Realm. Whoosh! Before Jing Zishan could steady himself, Longchen appeared in front of him again. His speed was so fast that it made everyone's hearts tremble. Ghost Lurk! Jing Zishan's face was gloomy. His body trembled with divine light, and a 1,000-meter-long black shadow was reflected behind him. The black shadow was covered with purple thorns. It was strange and inexplicable. As he attacked Longchen, the 1,000-meter-long shadow behind him seemed to come alive. At the same time, it pounced on Longchen. Countless purple thorns turned into an inescapable net. It was like a giant beast that wanted to swallow Longchen whole. Ghost Bauhinia, I'll cut off your soul today. Longchen's voice was like a great bell. A sword ray from the scabbard of the sword in his hand pierced the sky. An awe-inspiring murderous intent seemed to fall from the sky. Boom! The people around them were inexplicably shocked. Even the saints from the reclusive families behind Balhenia Mountain couldn't help but gasp. They had long heard of Long Chen's name, but no one had expected him to have such combat strength. At this moment, everyone had the same thought. The rumors were true. In the Waste Realm, this young man who had risen against the natural order had a combat strength that no one in this generation could match. While they were shocked, the people around them had already retreated 10,000 meters. When the Balhenia spirit and Long Chen's sword ray dissipated, the entire ground seemed to have turned into a hole. It was pitch black. Above the sky, there were still countless waves of saint power rising and falling. They turned into blinding lightning. Long Chen still held his sword and stood where he was. On the other side, Jing Zishan was already bathed in blood. A terrifying sword wound had almost pierced through half of his body. What made everyone pale the most was the bloodline spirit behind him. This bloodline spirit was unique to the Ghost Balhenia clan. It was also because of this spirit that the clan could have a place in the reclusive families. However, at this moment, the spirit was cracking inch by inch like embers. It gradually turned into black smoke and flew into the sky. Jing Zishan looked at his broken body and felt that the spirit behind him was about to dissipate. His entire body rose and fell violently. His eyes were bloodshot. He glared at Long Chen and hissed, You actually cut off my bloodline spirit. How dare you do this? For the Ghost Clan, the bloodline spirit being cut off was equivalent to losing half of their lives. It would be impossible for his cultivation to break through in the future. Chapter 506. Transmitting the clan leader's orders. Long Chen stood where he was, and Jing Zishan suddenly froze. The Spectre clan members behind him looked at each other as if they did not know who Jing Tianming was. Only the Saint Realm powerhouses in the clan had a change in expression as they stared at Long Chen. One of the older elders frowned and walked forward. He asked Long Chen in a deep voice, How dare you call our clan's patriarch by his name? This person was an elder of the clan who came with Jing Zishan. His strength was even higher than Jing Zishan's. He had seen how Jing Zishan targeted Long Chen these days, but he did not stop him. He was well aware of what had happened today, which was why he did not help Jing Zishan when Long Chen made his move. However, he did not expect Long Chen to cripple Jing Zishan. This lightning-fast speed made him feel very helpless. He was originally furious that Long Chen had crippled Jing Zishan, but he heard Jing Tianming's name. Even in the clan, apart from the powerhouses above half-saints and core disciples, very few people knew this name. Jing Tianming was the foundation of the Spectre Balhenia clan. He was also one of their clan's ancestors. However, it was this person who had been called out. At this moment, he was being called out by an outsider. This made him very puzzled. How old was Long Chen? How did he know the patriarch's name? Could it be that someone in the clan had leaked it? Long Chen's eyes were like torches. He looked deeply at Jing Zishan and said coldly, You better put away your killing intent. Otherwise, no one will be able to save you today. Jing Zishan's face turned green. His body trembled in anger, but he did not say a word. He had been defeated in 2 short exchanges. As Long Chen had said, he had the power to kill him. Long Chen snorted and said to the elder, Jing Tianming. Why can't I call him by his name? The old man's eyes suddenly turned cold when he heard this. He said in a cold voice, Today's matter is Zishan's fault, so I won't pursue it any further. However, I cannot tolerate your disrespect towards my clan's ancestor. As soon as the old man gave the order, the Saint stage powerhouses behind him looked at Long Chen coldly. However, Long Chen didn't take it seriously. He turned around and walked toward Jianshursan and the others. Then, he said indifferently, Now that we are still in the territory of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, I don't want to have any more conflicts with you. Send an order to your clan leader to pass a message to Jing Tianming. The red bud flower blooms, the living souls retreat. In the blink of an eye, thousands of years have passed. Long Chen's short sentence caused everyone to be dumbfounded. They had no idea what Long Chen was talking about. Behind the old man were several Sage Realm experts who had been following Jing Zishan. They shouted coldly, impudent. Do you think you can order our patriarch around just because you want to? Who are you? What Sangji clan? You're not even a one-star ancient clan. What right do you have? Today, you've hurt Zishan to this extent, and you still want to let it go? The few of them spoke one after another. Their eyes were filled with resentment. Swoosh. 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 Jianshi San and the three divine beast fighting souls leaped out when they saw their murderous intents. Saint power surged from their bodies. Jianshi San stared at the few of them and said coldly, "Who are you to speak to my master in such a manner? If you have the guts, come and fight with me. If it weren't for the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, our master wouldn't lower himself to your level. Today, the three of us will slaughter your clan's saint stage experts right here." The Yazi fighting soul's sunken eyes swept across the crowd. Enough! The old man from the Ghost Clan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. After pondering for a moment, he looked deeply at Long Chen. For some reason, he felt as though he was facing an abyss. "I'll get in touch with my clan leader now. However, if you dare to play tricks on us, we won't let this matter go." The old man's right hand continued to drop inscriptions in the air. He was using a special telepathic method to communicate with his clan. Ever since they stepped into the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's territory, all the communication talismans had lost their effectiveness. The various clans could only communicate with each other through special inscriptions. Seeing that the old man was using his saint power to carve inscriptions, one of the saints pointed his sword at Jianshi San. He snorted and said sarcastically, "Master? You're a saint stage expert. How dare you worship someone who hasn't even become a saint stage expert as your master? What a joke! Rumor has it that the Sangji clan's rise is unprecedented. Your swordsmanship is even better. Today, I'll fight with you." At this moment, Jing Zishan's face was pale. The wounds on his body had already healed. He walked to the back of his clan and breathed a sigh of relief. He said coldly, "Long Chen's cultivation is really strange. His combat strength can't be measured by an ordinary person's. However, rumor has it that his disciple is only at the half-saint stage. It's just that Long Chen obtained something from the Divine Corpse stage that helped them enter the saint stage together. It's not worth mentioning. Help me. Cripple him. Make him a complete cripple." Hearing Jing Zishan's words, the saint stage expert of his clan nodded with a sneer. To be honest, Long Chen's two moves had made all the saints fear him. However, now that he was facing Jianshi San, he was more confident. When Long Chen heard Bauhinia Mountain's words, he couldn't help but sneer. He only said to Jianshi San faintly, "If you can't take this person's life within 20 moves, it means that your sword soul hasn't been fully developed. I'll extract your sword soul and temper it for a month." Long Chen's voice was extremely calm. He didn't mean to force Jianshi San, just like an ordinary teacher instructing his disciple. When Jianshi San heard this, he cupped his fists and bowed to Long Chen. "Don't worry, master. To kill this person, 15 moves are enough, 15 moves are enough." The people of various clans were in an uproar. They were speechless as they looked at Long Chen and Jianshi San. The saint stage experts of various clans couldn't help but sneer. Although Long Chen had defeated Jing Zishan in 2 moves, if he really wanted to kill him, he probably wouldn't need more than 10 moves. Jianshi San had fought many times along the way, and everyone had seen his combat strength. Although his sword technique was strong, it was a fool's dream to think that he could kill a saint stage opponent within 15 moves. The saint stage experts of the Ghost Clan standing beside Jing Zishan couldn't help but twitch their eyes. Jianshi San and Long Chen's words were a complete insult to them. The old man who led the Ghost Clan frowned and shook his head as he engraved the sound transmission array. Although he didn't want everyone to have a conflict with Long Chen and the others, he didn't believe that Jianshi San could kill Jing Hai. Although Jing Hai's cultivation wasn't as good as Jing Zishan's, it wasn't much worse. If he was facing Long Chen, he might have stopped them. However, he had no intention of stopping Jianshi San. If the two of them fought, it would allow both sides to vent their anger. As for the Bright Moon Ancient clan, they didn't seem to have any intention of leaving the dark area. Chapter 507. 15 moves. Long Chen and the Worshipping Sword clan had fought in the night, and the conflict between them was irreconcilable. Long Chen stood in front of the crowd, and the Jing family elder began to send a message to the patriarch. In the middle of the crowd stood Jianshi San and Jing Hai. Both of them used swords, and their cultivations were also in the Saint Realm. However, Jing Hai's cultivation was at the Fourth Order Saint Realm, while Jianshi San had just stepped into the Saint Realm after passing through the Divine Corpse Realm. The people of the Tsangji clan are so arrogant, but Long Chen really has the qualifications to be arrogant. I wonder if his disciple is as strong as him. Originally, I thought the rumors were not credible, but I didn't expect Long Chen to be able to suppress a Saint Realm cultivator. However, it would be good if his disciple could fight Jing Hai to a draw. Jing Hai is at the intermediate stage of the Saint Realm after all. Jianshi San would be lucky if he didn't lose. Killing Jing Hai in 15 moves is simply a pipe dream. Seeing that the two were about to fight, the crowd discussed animatedly. Killing a Fourth Order Saint Realm within 15 moves was a bit too arrogant. When the two's eyes met, they both unsheathed their swords. As the swords clashed, everyone's eyes narrowed. Both of their cultivations in the sword Dao were not low, but Jianshi San's sword Dao was extremely pure, while Jing Hai's was a bit more ruthless. After a short exchange, both of them were forced to retreat. "You want to beat me with this kind of strength?" Jing Hai sneered. The people around also nodded. Although Jianshi San's sword Dao cultivation was higher than Jing Hai's, his attacks were far inferior. Under such circumstances, it would not be easy to win. Second move, Fiery Wind Cloud. Jianshi San didn't seem to hear the voices of the people around him at all, and in the next moment, he attacked again with his sword. The sword was like wind, like fire, and like two elements. It soared into the sky and fell down. As soon as the sword was used, Jing Hai's expression suddenly became dignified, and a black soul appeared behind him. However, this black soul seemed to be the real body, and it also held a long sword in its right hand, twin purple swords. When Jing Hai slashed out with his sword, it was as if he had split it into two. His combat prowess also soared abruptly. Rumble! Their attacks collided once again. The two of them streaked across the sky like streaks of light, and the people around them quickly unleashed their saint energy to resist the oncoming shockwaves. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 moves had passed. 14 moves. To think that Long Chen's disciples' battle prowess is also so formidable. If it weren't for the special bloodline of the Spectre clan, which is equivalent to 2 against 1, the others would have been defeated long ago. But even so, look at Jing Hai. If he continues to exchange more than 10 blows, I'm afraid he will only lose once. The members of the Violet Spike Spirit clan had gloomy expressions, and they were slightly shocked by Jianshi San's strength. Everyone couldn't help but glance at Long Chen, and they couldn't help but feel a sense of awe towards him. The great clans of the wasteland had long heard of the strength of the 3 great divine beast battle souls, but no one would have thought that even a young disciple like him would have the ability to fight beyond his level. On the other hand, Long Chen remained indifferent from the beginning. Noticing everyone's gaze, Long Chen nodded slightly, and he was quite pleased with Jianshi San's understanding of the sword principle. Long Chen glanced at Jing Hai, who was covered in wounds, and said to Jianshi San, "Return the blow and end this." Jianshi San nodded and said, "Yes, master." As soon as he said that, the members of the Spectre clan's faces turned as black as the bottom of a pot, and they couldn't stop sneering. Although Jianshi San's strength was shocking, how could he kill Jing Hai with only 1 blow left? Jing Hai's face was as cold as ice, and his eyes were bloodshot as he shouted hoarsely, "Today, I'd like to see how you're going to kill me with 1 blow, bloodline sword." As Jing Hai shouted, the bloodline specter behind him transformed into a 7-foot-long sword that was as black as ink and engraved with purple patterns. The long sword buzzed and emitted an aura that made people's hearts palpitate. When the members of the Spectre clan saw this scene, they all sucked in a breath of cold air, secretly thinking that Sword 13 really forced Jing Hai into a dead end. He actually transformed the Bloodline Spectre into his own weapon, and this attack was equivalent to fighting with his life. The expression of the old man who engraved the inscription changed slightly, but it was too late to stop him. Even so, no one expected that Jianshi San would still meet the attack with his sword, but the sword light on his sword suddenly converged, and an invisible aura condensed and did not dissipate. Formless Sword Art, the first move, Formless Sword Cut Body. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, the sword blade was already behind Jianshi San's back. The surroundings suddenly became quiet, as if the space had stopped, and all the flesh and blood on Jing Hai's body turned into nothingness at a terrifying speed. The people around were aghast, and only Longchen couldn't help but nod. Jianshi San's sword principle cultivation did not disappoint him. The formless sword art became more powerful as Jianshi San's strength increased and his sword soul became purer. The formless sword art was very different from ordinary swordsmanship, and as one's cultivation increased, the power of the swordsmanship would also become stronger. This seemingly simple move contained all of Jianshi San's understanding of the sword principle and the use of his sword soul. When the crowd came back to their senses, Jing Hai's entire body had collapsed, and his divine soul had turned into green smoke unwillingly under the invisible aura. He really killed Jing Hai with one move. He really did it. That move, what's going on? It seems simple, but it has unparalleled power. Jianshi San's swordsmanship has reached the acme of perfection. The sword in his hand is not a high-grade weapon, but it has the power of a divine weapon, as if it had come alive. Countless voices of astonishment rose and fell. After the Ghost Clan members, including Jing Zishan, recovered from their shock, they were immediately filled with rage. Jing Zishan led the Saint Realm experts behind him and immediately shouted at Jianshi San, "You actually dared to kill a Saint Realm expert of my clan. Today, I want you to pay with your life." Jianshi San snorted coldly and said, "He just killed me. If I don't kill him, I'll be the one to die." Seeing that Jing Zishan wanted to incite his clansmen to attack, Long Chen's face turned gloomy. He did not kill Jing Zishan out of consideration for Jing Tianming's reputation and their alliance. Now, this person wanted to seek his own death. Jing Tianming had crossed paths with Long Chen during the Battle of Infinite Wasteland in his previous life, and the two of them had fought together against the people of the Heaven region. Therefore, Long Chen had always been merciful to Jing Zishan. "If you really want to die, don't blame me," Long Chen said slowly, and a terrifying murderous intent gradually spread from his body. The three divine beast fighting souls had been ready for a long time, as if they had long wanted to attack. Wait. At that moment, the Ghost Clan elder finally finished inscribing the inscription. Ripples condensed in the sky. The image of a middle-aged man condensed. The middle-aged man's voice was steady. His face was like a mountain, and his eyes were reserved. He stared at the elder and said, "What does the message have to do with me?" The experts of the Jing clan all bowed their heads. The elder said, "The leader of the Zhangji clan, Long Chen, asked me to pass on a message to you." Chapter 508. Bauhinia Blossoms, Soul's Retreat. Thousands of years passed in the blink of an eye. No one knew what he meant, nor did they know why Long Chen had passed these words on to the patriarch of the Spectre clan. However, when the leader of the Jing clan heard that, inscription's silhouette shook. He looked surprised. Before he could say anything, Long Chen became impatient because of Jing Zishan. He said in a deep voice, "Just pass this message to Jing Tianming. Otherwise, I'll take the lives of Jing Zishan and the saints beside him." Impudent. How dare you speak to my clan's patriarch like that? You want to pass on a random sentence to my clan's old ancestor and even order my clan's patriarch around? You're too arrogant. Jing Zishan and the others all shouted at Long Chen. "Shut up. I'm going to tell the ancestor." The leader of the Jing clan was surprised when he heard Long Chen call out Jing Tianming's name. He wasn't angry at all. Instead, he was surprised. What Longchen had said was an incomplete book that Jing Tianming studied every day. Even the leader of the Jing clan had only seen it a few times. But even though he didn't know what that book was, he knew that it was extremely important to Jing Tianming. In other words, Longchen wasn't talking nonsense. When the leader of the Jing clan said that, not only Jing Zishan, but even the elder of the Jing clan was startled. They hadn't thought that his words would be so effective. Everybody looked at each other. Jing Zishan and the others were angry at Longchen, but they didn't dare say anything. After a short time, the leader of the Jing clan disappeared and was replaced by an old man. He was holding a walking stick. His face was wrinkled, and his eyes were sunken and full of freckles. Bauhinia blossoms, soul's retreat. Who said that? The old man's walking stick trembled. His eyes were sharp. The members of the Jing clan bowed respectfully. The saints of the other clans all moved back 100 meters. They didn't dare look at the old man. At this moment, although it was an illusion formed by the formation, many of the Saint Realm experts could still feel the terrifying aura emanating from the old man. Only Longchen didn't advance. Instead, he retreated. He slowly walked out from the crowd of the Tsangs and stopped a few meters away from the old man. When he saw Jing Tianming's old face and stooped body, he couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. In his previous life, the two of them had met in a chaotic battle and fought side by side. In this life, they had met again. That's what I said. Longchen stared at Jing Tianming. Jing Tianming's eyes were like torches, and a vast aura seemed to have pierced through space and locked onto Longchen. He frowned. Longchen's cultivation was clearly only a half-step saint, but he gave off an unfathomable feeling. He hadn't felt this way for a long time. You. How do you know this sentence? Jing Tianming stared at Longchen with his sunken eyes and asked in a deep voice. A smile flashed across Longchen's face as he replied, "How I know that isn't important. However, there are two sentences that I know very well." In fact, even Jing Tianming himself didn't know that this sentence and the next two sentences were what he had told Longchen in his previous life. The incomplete book in his hand wasn't an immortal skill, nor was it a heaven-defying secret technique. It was an outline of how to use the Ghost Clan's bloodline. It was a pity that the outline was missing 3 sentences. Jing Tianming had spent his entire life comprehending these 3 sentences. However, at his cultivation level, he had only comprehended the first sentence, which was the sentence Longchen had given him. However, he didn't know that the next 2 sentences were actually what he had told Longchen in his previous life. One of the sentences was what he had comprehended when he and Longchen were fighting against the experts of the Heaven Domain. The other sentence was what he had comprehended before he died. He had told Longchen all 3 sentences and asked him to pass them back to the clan. In both his previous and current lives, these words had been passed to him through Longchen's mouth. Do you really want to hear the next 2 sentences? As long as you can tell me the next 2 sentences, you can ask for anything. Jing Tianming's old face was unusually excited. Longchen wasn't in a hurry when he heard this. He said calmly, "I don't have any requests. However, your clan's Jing Zishan and a few other saints. They really annoy me." Jing Zishan and the others' faces darkened when they heard this. They immediately shouted coldly, "Longchen, don't go too far." As soon as Jing Zishan finished speaking, Longchen's figure disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, he had already sent Jing Zishan flying with a slap. Jing Zishan's cheeks were blood red, and blood kept flowing out of his mouth. Longchen turned to look at Jing Tianming and snorted coldly, "Cripple Jing Zishan, or I'll kill him myself. Listen to my command when we attack the Bright Moon Ancient Clan." Jing Tianming frowned slightly and didn't answer for a while. Instead, he waved his hand and called the old man beside him to his side. He asked, "What happened?" The old man didn't dare to hide anything. He spoke word by word about how Jing Zishan had led the reclusive clans and people from various clans against Longchen. He also told him about the mistakes they had made today. Bastard! When Jing Tianming heard this, he roared in anger. Jing Zishan and the few people behind him fell to their knees with a thud. Their faces were extremely pale. This shout had already explained Jing Tianming's decision. Long Chen nodded slightly. Whether it was in his previous life or current life, Jing Tianming's character hadn't changed much. He wasn't as conceited and narrow-minded as Jing Zishan. Cripple their cultivations and expel them from the clan. Jing Tianming's voice made the entire ghost clan sigh. They couldn't help but stare at Long Chen. Although Jing Zishan was at fault, if it weren't for Long Chen's next two sentences, Jing Tianming wouldn't have punished him so severely. Even the elder present couldn't help but plead, "Ancestor, Zishan is our clan's previous Dao disciple after all." The power of his bloodline. Before he could finish speaking, Jing Tianming looked at him coldly and said, "Are you waiting for me to make a move?" The old man trembled and didn't dare to hesitate anymore. He could only walk toward Jing Zishan with a helpless expression. Jing Zishan's eyes were full of hatred. He glared at Long Chen and turned to escape. However, he was already seriously injured. How could he escape from a late-stage saint? Jing Zishan was crippled in front of everyone's eyes. Long Chen and the Jing family's ancestor chatted frankly. The people around them had strange expressions. They couldn't help but shake their heads and laugh. They felt that Long Chen was hiding countless secrets. Jing Zishan and the three saints behind him had their cultivations crippled and were expelled from the clan. Chapter 509. Ancient beast Jing Zishan and the other three saints were crippled, causing everyone to sigh. However, Long Chen's next two sentences confused everyone. Bauhinia blossoms, souls of the living retreat. Thousands of years pass in the blink of an eye. Spirits are born. Bauhinia is the bone, unchanging for thousands of years. Bauhinia blossoms fall, souls of the dead are born. One thought is life, one thought is death. The three short sentences were not a celestial art or a secret art. Everyone understood what they meant, but they felt it was useless. Only Jing Tianming was trembling uncontrollably. The light in his eyes flickered as he bowed to Long Chen with his hunched back. However, Long Chen turned sideways and did not accept the bow. Instead, he cupped his fists in return. Jing Tianming had told him these three sentences before he died. Now that they were returned to him, he naturally could not accept this bow. Jing Chu, you will lead the Third Food Alliance. Everyone will listen to Long Chen's orders. Even if you die, you must not disobey. Otherwise, you will be expelled from the family. Jing Tianming's words were full of gratitude. The elder did not dare to disobey and quickly agreed. Then, the inscription gradually dissipated in the air like water ripples. The elder named Jing Chu shook his head and smiled bitterly. He bowed deeply to Long Chen and said in a low voice, "From today onward, the Zhangji clan will be our leader." As the elder finished speaking, the saints and experts of the ancient clans behind him looked at each other and finally bowed. These people were obviously in favor of this matter. The Zhangji clan was originally the leader of the Hidden Clans Alliance. Now that the Jing family's ancestor had said that Long Chen would lead the team, they naturally did not say anything. Although they did not say anything, they were well aware of what had happened today. If it were not for Long Chen, they would have suffered countless casualties in the night sky. Not only that, everyone was convinced by Long Chen's combat strength. Although the Zhangji clan did not have the largest number of people, their combat strength was terrifying. Seeing that everyone had bowed, Long Chen did not say anything else. He only nodded slightly and said, "Retreat. Retreat 30,000 miles away from the night sky." Following Long Chen's order, the various clans began to retreat. Only Jing Zishan and the three people behind him, who had been crippled, glared at Long Chen with resentment. They watched as everyone left, and in the end, they turned around and stepped into the night. 30,000 kilometers away. Long Chen gathered all the high-level Saint Realm experts of the various clans. Seeing that everyone had gathered, a Saint Realm expert from a reclusive family took the lead and said, "The two giant will celestial devices on the two giant beasts in the night are simply tailor-made for the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Why don't we bypass this place, bypass this place? Do you think the people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan are idiots? If it's really that easy, then it would be the biggest joke in the world. I think this matter needs to be discussed at length. Now, people from various clans are besieging the Bright Moon Ancient Clan from all directions. We will break this formation when all clans are gathered. Everyone spoke one after another, but in the end, most people chose to leave. It was as if he had been scared out of his wits by the array formation that day. It was not their fault. On that day, thousands of people had died in just a dozen breaths. It was too terrifying. Just as everyone was making a racket, Longchen pressed his hands down slightly, indicating for everyone to quiet down. Then, he said in a deep voice, "This formation can be broken, but only the Saint Realm experts can do it. Others must not set foot in." As Longchen's words fell, there was an uproar. An ancient clan Saint Realm expert asked, "So many of us entered, but we couldn't resist the power of the celestial device. Now that only the Saint Realm experts have entered, isn't it equivalent to suicide?" Yes, if we hadn't joined forces to support the battle formation at that time, I'm afraid that not only some of the semi-saints and human emperors would have died. There are only a few dozen of us Saint Realm experts. How could we resist the power of such a terrifying celestial device? Everyone shook their heads and denied Longchen's words. Longchen's expression did not change as he continued to say, "The Night Land of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan is a killing formation called the Ancient Star Moon Formation. The two giant will celestial devices and the two giant beasts below them are not creatures of the Waste Realm. They are beasts of the heavenly realm called the Ancient Moonlight Beast. If you want to break this place, you can't rely on numbers. No matter how many people below the Saint Realm enter, they will all die within 100 breaths." After Longchen's explanation, everyone felt that it made sense and gradually quieted down. If you want to break this formation, the only way is for the Saint Realm experts to quickly kill the two ancient beasts. As long as the ancient beasts are dead, the giant will celestial device will have nothing to support it. As for the ancient star moon formation, it will break by itself. Longchen's words were not empty words. In his previous life, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan had killed countless experts in this night land, but it was not broken in the end. Only when he went to the heavenly realm and saw the ancient moonlight beast again did he understand the mystery. The body of this beast was like a natural celestial device that could infinitely accumulate the power of the moonlight. The older it was, the stronger the power of the moonlight in its body. Today, they took the risk to step into the night land. Relying on his powerful divine thoughts and understanding of the formation, he became more and more certain of his idea. The core of this terrifying celestial device in the night land formation was not the celestial device or the formation, but the two ancient moonlight beasts. These beasts were connected to the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the ancient star moon formation. In addition to the two kinds of moon celestial devices, they had such a terrifying power. These beasts were equivalent to the eye of the formation in this series of connections. Without these beasts, the celestial device could not rely on the ancient star moon formation. It was impossible for the Bright Moon Ancient Clan members on the two giant beasts to exert such power. After hearing this, everyone nodded one after another. They felt that Longchen's words were reasonable. The two giant beasts were indeed very strange. But how could they kill the two giant beasts quickly? It was impossible for the Saint Realm experts to kill the two terrifying giant beasts in a short time. Longchen seemed to have seen through everyone's worries. In fact, this was the reason why this formation was unbreakable in his previous life. Although these two ancient beasts were indeed the weak points of the night land, their powerful lethality made it difficult for anyone to get close to them. Not to mention killing him, after the previous battle, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan would definitely be more vigilant and would not give them the slightest chance to attack the ancient beasts. Longchen smiled and looked at the three mythical beast fighting souls behind him. He said, "When the time comes, you only need to hold on for 100 breaths of time. The four of us will kill these two ancient beasts." Everyone raised their eyebrows. The two giant beasts were under the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's feet. It was extremely difficult to kill them. Moreover, as Longchen said, These demonic beasts came from the celestial domain and were not ordinary demonic beasts in the ancient desolation land. It would not be easy to kill them. Only Longchen and the three mythical beast-fighting souls knew that as long as the Saint Realm experts could hold on for 100 breaths of time, they would be able to attract the enemy's attention. Chapter 510. Bloodline coercion. After Longchen spoke, he and the others decided to enter the land of darkness again and attack the Bright Moon Ancient clan. Everyone's hearts were indescribably heavy, and they were no longer in high spirits from before. He finally realized that the Bright Moon Ancient clan was not a pushover. Seeing that Longchen and the others had returned to the Zhangji clan, the Saint Realm experts of the various clans also returned to their clans. The upper echelons of the various clans felt uneasy. Even though what Longchen said made sense, the people of the various clans still felt some lingering fear. The moon tide in the night sky was too scary. Can Longchen and the others really kill those two ancient beasts? If those ancient beasts really came from the Qingyun realm, how could four saints kill them so easily? In tomorrow's battle, we will only be responsible for drawing the enemy's firepower. If anything goes wrong, we will retreat immediately. If those four from the Zhangyi clan succeed, we'll go with the flow. If not, we won't lose our lives for them. Everyone was still worried about Longchen's words. The night passed, and the people of the various clans were all waiting in place. Only the cultivators of the Saint Plain followed Longchen into the darkness. There were dozens of Saint Realm experts from the various clans, but none of them dared to move forward in the face of the night. When Longchen saw the scene, he couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. After the last battle, these people had already been traumatized by the moontide displayed by the huge wheel magic tool. However, Longchen did not see through their intentions. After all, this array had made the Bright Moon Ancient clan invincible in his previous life, and many experts had died in it. Longchen took a deep breath. In fact, he knew that the real battle would only begin after breaking through this barrier. He had no idea what the Bright Moon Ancient clan would do next. After all, in his previous life, even in the Battle of Infinite Region, no one had forced the Bright Moon Ancient clan to the brink of extinction. Enter the formation. Under Longchen's command, the three mythological beast battle souls followed him into the darkness. Jian San, Yi Hailan, and Qing Xian led the people from the other clans and entered from a distance of 100 meters away. Taking a step forward, the day turned into night once again. All the Divine Saint stage powerhouses could not help but feel nervous in the pitch-black night sky. All of them pushed their saint energy to the limit as their bodies emitted a dazzling divine light. As the group stepped into the night, the two giant beasts once again charged towards them. Rays of moonlight once again shone through the giant wheel and the curtain of night, falling upon the group. The moontide swept out like a tsunami, instantly enveloping many saint stage powerhouses. On the back of the giant beast, a Saint Realm elder of the Bright Moon Ancient clan sneered and said, "Even a Saint Realm expert can't break through this array. Today, all of you will die here." However, just as he finished speaking, Longchen and the three divine beast fighting souls flew out in the air, and their physical bodies changed with the wind. In the name of our bloodline, summon the bodies of the divine beasts. The Yazi fighting soul, the Taotai fighting soul, and the Karen fighting soul roared and transformed into their true forms. A vast aura instantly swept through the entire night. Behind the three of them, Longchen soared into the sky like a rainbow and transformed into the chasing Sunhorn dragon. The moment the four of them transformed into their true forms, a pressure from their bloodline swept out in all directions. The two ancient beasts under the feet of the Bright Moon Ancient clan's people could not help but roar. As their huge heads shook uneasily, the entire night sky began to tremble. This was the pressure from their bloodline. All the saint stage powerhouses felt the pressure on their bodies lessen, and the moontide had also become much thinner. The saint stage powerhouses of the Bright Moon Ancient clan who led the group had a change in expression. They immediately used their saint energy to cut off the connection between the two ancient beasts and the outside world, forcibly calming them down. Kill these three first. The tsunami-like moon tide emitted by the moons around the two giant beasts fell on Longchen and the others. When the Saint stage powerhouses of the other clans saw that Long Chen and the others had the ability to shake the two ancient beasts, their confidence was greatly boosted. All of them instantly took action to restrain the moon tide. Buzz! At the same time, Long Chen and the three divine beast fighting souls performed their bloodline superpower at the same time and attacked one of the ancient beasts. Plop! The ancient beast in front of Long Chen and the others on the right fell from the sky when Long Chen and the others approached it. The power of the moon tide also plummeted instantly. Bang! Under the joint attack of Long Chen and the others, the huge ancient beast turned into flesh and blood that filled the sky. The people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan behind them quickly retreated. The Saint stage powerhouses of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan had a drastic change in expression as they screamed, "Why did this happen? Why didn't the Moontide ancient beasts fight back? They didn't even have the heart to defend themselves." The people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan did not expect the two Moontide ancient beasts to be so weak. They were killed like dogs in front of Long Chen and the others. After one of the Moontide ancient beasts was killed, although the sky was still dark, the pressure on the Saint stage powerhouses of the various clans was greatly reduced. The people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan who were not protected by the moon tide were quickly slaughtered by Long Chen and the others. The other ancient beast was also killed under the attack of Long Chen and the others. The two giant moons cracked and turned into iron scraps that filled the sky the moment the second giant beast died. With the death of the two demonic beasts, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was utterly defeated. The dozens of Saint stage powerhouses were like wolves in a flock of sheep. They were unstoppable. Rumble! Just when everyone thought that everything was about to end, they saw a few huge human-shaped demonic beasts that were more than 10 meters tall walking out from the depths of the night. Everyone's attention was immediately attracted. They immediately looked at the three huge human-shaped demonic beasts with vigilance. It's the Purple Mountain. However, at this moment, the elder of the Ghost Clan seemed to have sensed something and could not help but exclaim. Everyone immediately looked at each other. No one expected the three human-shaped demonic beasts that were draped in moon tide to be Jing Zishan and the other two Saint stage powerhouses who were crippled. Currently, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the other clans were fighting like fire and water. Everyone thought that they wanted to die and walk into the night. However, no one expected them to turn into such a state. Long Chen had already returned to his original form. He held the crystal ball that was refined from the moon god's essence in his right hand and was constantly absorbing the moon tide from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. At this moment, the crystal ball in Long Chen's hand was as white as a full moon. When Long Chen and the others looked at the three human-shaped demonic beasts, they could not help but shake their heads and say in a deep voice, "It seems that I really shouldn't have let you live. The three of you are actually willing to betray your bloodline. Cut the crap. I'll kill you today." The leading human-shaped demonic beast spoke in human language. It was Jing Zishan's voice, but there was a hint of madness in his voice. The people of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan looked at the three of them. At this moment, they were filled with regret. They did not expect Long Chen and the others to be able to break the formation so quickly. The two ancient beasts also died so quickly. Chapter 5:11. On the eve of the decisive battle, Jing Zishan and the three saints of the Spectre clan who had been crippled had turned into three giant humanoid beasts. This was something no one had expected. Not only that, their battle prowess had also returned to the Saint realm. Moreover, the aura they were exuding had also become unfathomable. The old man named Jing Chu from the Spectre clan pulled a long face. He stared at Jing Zishan and the other two and said coldly, "You've actually sacrificed your own bloodline and burned your life origin through a formation. You've even fused with some kind of brand of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. If you kill yourselves now, I can still treat you as a member of my Red Bud Spirit clan." The members of the Spectre clan were furious when they heard Jing Chu's words. The other Saint Realm experts also understood why Jing Zishan and the others were behaving this way. The three of them were obviously willing to be used by the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. They had used some kind of special sacrificial technique to obtain their current cultivation. Their goal was to exact revenge on Longchen. The few Saint Stage powerhouses from the Bright Moon ancient clan sneered and said coldly, Jing Zishan's spectral soul bloodline is not weak. Otherwise, this sacrificial art would not be so powerful. However, the three of them only have an hour to live. Let's avenge them to our heart's content. When the dozens of Saint Realm experts saw that the Bright Moon ancient clan was about to escape, they immediately rushed out to kill them all. However, Jing Zishan and the other two held him back. Everyone was shocked, thinking that the power that Jing Zishan and the other two had obtained was extremely strange. It was clearly only the power of a late-stage saint, but it was able to corrode all of their saint energy. In just a few short breaths, the Bright Moon ancient clan was given a chance to escape. The Saint Realm experts of the Haoyue ancient clan led their clansmen to retreat quickly. They were no longer willing to fight. Before they left, they saw the formation veins in the night sky rapidly descending towards everyone, leaving only Longchen, Jing Zishan, and the other two outside. After doing all this, the people of the Bright Moon ancient clan had no intention of turning back. The Bright Moon ancient clan, which could have been annihilated, fled because of Jing Zishan and the others. Of course, only the saints and half-saints had escaped. The rest of the Renhuangs had been killed or injured by the saints of the various clans. Jing Zishan's entire body looked like it was made of countless white stones. He looked like a giant ape. He glared at Longchen with bloodshot eyes and said, I'm going to drag you to hell with me. As his voice fell, a strange phenomenon appeared behind the three of them. A blood-red moon appeared. Within the bright moon, there seemed to be a ghost covered in purple thorns that was bound within. Longchen didn't feel the slightest bit of pity as he watched the three of them end up in a state that was neither human nor ghost. Jing Zishan was too narrow-minded and always opposed Longchen. If it wasn't for his friendship with Jing Tianming, Longchen would have killed him long ago. However, he didn't expect that Jing Zishan would use such a method to seek revenge after he spared his life. Longchen snorted coldly and shook his head. You think too highly of yourself if you think you can kill me with just this amount of strength. Although their cultivations were close to the 8th Order Saint Realm, their lives were still in danger. Seeing the three of them attacking him, Longchen didn't attack immediately. Instead, he kept defending himself. The Saint Realm masters of the various clans were trapped by the Curtain of Night array. Several of the Saint Realm masters from the Sword Worship clan shouted at Longchen, their saint energies are very strange. If we can hold them off for half an hour, only one of them will die. Just as everyone had said, Longchen also felt the strangeness of these three people's attacks at the first moment. The three saint energies seemed to have an extremely powerful corrosive ability at all times. Even Longchen's dragon chi seemed to be suppressed. The three led by Jing Zishan sneered. Each of them seemed to have fallen into a state of madness. However, as time passed, Longchen didn't show any signs of being defeated. Instead, he was at ease. The surrounding Saint Realm masters also began to break through the Curtain of Night array. The Renhuangs outside the Curtain of Night also began to enter. The surrounding Saint Realm masters couldn't help but be shocked when they saw Longchen facing the three's attacks so calmly through the array. Just now, the three of them had used their strange saint energies to temporarily stall them. Now, it was 3 against 1, but Longchen didn't seem to be at a disadvantage. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. If this continued, the three of them would die in less than a quarter of an hour due to the sacrifice technique. Jing Zishan and the other two seemed to be getting crazier. However, Longchen's sword suddenly shook and he easily killed one of them. How is this possible? You're just a half-saint. How can you fight against the three of us? Then, the second person died beside Jing Zishan, causing him to feel cold all over. He originally thought that by relying on the power of sacrifice, he would be able to drag Longchen down with him. But now, Longchen had easily killed 2 people. He couldn't comprehend such a terrifying attack. The three of them had even reached the late-stage Saint Realm, while Longchen was just a half-saint. The surrounding Saint Stage experts had already broken through the Veil of Night array, and they couldn't help but be stunned when they saw this scene. No one expected Longchen to give up on stalling and kill two of them in the blink of an eye. Everyone looked at each other. They had originally planned to rescue Longchen as soon as they broke through the array, but now it seemed that Longchen didn't need them at all. Longchen saw that the three divine beast war souls and the others were already behind him. He stared at Jing Zishan's mountain-like body and said calmly, "No wonder the Bright Moon Ancient Clan didn't use the sacrifice technique. Instead, the three of you had to pay with your lives." As soon as Longchen finished speaking, Jing Zishan staggered back a few steps. It was no wonder that Longchen could easily kill the two of them. Jing Zishan knew their weaknesses. Their cultivations were wavering like duckweed and empty like withered bamboo. Their cultivations were forcefully injected with moonlight that was full of toxins. There's still nothing in their dantian. Even their five senses are beginning to disappear. As soon as Longchen finished speaking, his figure suddenly disappeared, and his longsword struck out again. This sword strike was ordinary and did not have a trace of saint power, but it killed Jing Zishan in a flash. Jing Zishan's eyes were filled with unwillingness. Before he died, he still glared at Longchen with resentment. Everyone sighed, and the Saint Realm masters of the various clans were in awe of him. Seeing through the night array and seeing the weaknesses of Jing Zishan and the other two shocked everyone. With Mr. Longchen around, we have nothing to worry about attacking the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. We'll definitely win this battle. From now on, we'll follow the Tsungji clan's lead. With Longchen around, we'll still be unstoppable. After this battle, the various clans' confidence in Longchen increased exponentially. However, Longchen did not feel that way. Instead, there was a hint of worry between his brows. The following path was just like the sacrifice technique. He no longer had a way to gain insight. Everything could only be taken one step at a time. Chapter 5:12. The last 3 days under the leadership of Longchen, the group of people broke through the darkness of the Land of Darkness. In the center of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's land, there were round mountains that looked like full moons hanging in the sky, one behind the other. Longchen and the others were moving slower and slower. The people who rushed out of the moons were extremely powerful and were not afraid of death. After several days, the group of people could see the mountain of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The mountain spanned 200,000 miles and seemed to be boundless. Outside the mountain, there was a mighty clan protection array and layers of white light screens. Longchen led the people of various clans and stood outside the mountain. His face was gloomy and uncertain. After passing through the darkness of the Land of Darkness, the people they met might not be of high realms, and there were very few of them in the Saint Realm. However, all of them were not afraid of death. They only had one purpose, and that was to delay the time of the attack on the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. In this case, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan had most likely started to use the boundary crossing stone. The experts of various ancient clans behind Longchen looked at the huge clan protection array and discussed spiritedly. Jing Chu, the leader of the Ghost Clan, walked toward Longchen and whispered, "This array is not something that we can open. Moreover, even if we are here, we may not be able to win if we clash with the core forces of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The other troops of the various ancient clans will all arrive within 10 days. When all the Saint Realm experts break this array, it will be the final battle." Jian Wufeng of the Sword Worship Clan nodded and said, "Now that our clan and the two reclusive clans have suppressed the Nine Suns Clan and the Xianyuan Clan, the other reclusive clans are on their way. To be safe, we should wait for 10 days. Longchen's eyes were like torches, and he frowned as he stared at the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's array. Once the Battle of Infinite Wasteland began, the entire ancient desolate land would fall into complete chaos. At this moment, everyone thought that by destroying the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, they could completely stop the people of the Sky Domain from coming to the ancient desolate land. However, only Longchen knew that even if the Bright Moon Ancient Clan did not have the boundary crossing stone, the Battle of Infinite Wasteland would still happen, but it would be much later. Of course, although the Battle of Infinite Region was inevitable, Longchen had to destroy the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan was a branch of the Heaven Domain Ancient Clan. In his previous life, during the Battle of Heaven Wasteland, they claimed to be from the Heaven Domain and killed countless people from the ancient desolate land. He pondered for a moment. Longchen replied, "Then let's wait for 10 days, just as everyone had said." In the face of such an extremely complicated formation that spanned across regions, they could only wait for all the secluded clans and various clans to join forces. The people of the various clans all retreated and began their final resting. For 10 days, Longchen stood on top of a mountain and looked into the bright moon ancient clan's array every day. On the 9th day, his expression suddenly turned ugly. The saints of the various ancient clans all looked up at the sky. At the center of the bright moon ancient clan's huge clan guarding array, a light beam shot up into the sky. The light beam was like a series of intersecting thunderbolts, blasting countless cracks in the space. Strong winds shot out in all directions, and everyone's faces turned gloomy. Everyone was bewildered and in an uproar. Longchen said coldly, "In at most 3 days, the heavenly domain passage will be completely opened. At that time, the entire heavenly domain will fall into chaos." Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air as they stared at the pillar of light in the sky. At this moment, the clan guarding array in front of them gradually became illusory, revealing the people of the bright moon ancient clan. The people of the various clans suddenly looked as if they were facing a great enemy, and saint energy fluctuated around their bodies. Longchen waved his hand, indicating that there was no need for them to be so nervous. Once such a huge array was activated, it could not be closed at any time. It was impossible to even walk out of it. Inside the clan guarding array, the middle-aged man who was the leader narrowed his eyes and stared at Longchen as he asked, "You are Longchen?" Longchen took a step forward and did not answer. Instead, he said, "You're very confident. This array is far stronger than the heavenly domain passage in the forbidden land of the bright moon ancient clan. If the heavenly domain passage was built in the past, it might have been completed at this moment. However, it will take at least 3 days for the passage to be completed." The clan leader of the bright moon ancient clan naturally understood Longchen's probing words. He snorted coldly and looked at Longchen, saying, "You have good eyesight. Once this passage is opened, all the clans who are enemies of the bright moon ancient clan will pay the price in blood." The clan leader of the bright moon ancient clan was actually quite resentful of Longchen. If Longchen had not destroyed the heavenly domain passage in the forbidden land, the various clans would not have dared to attack the bright moon ancient clan. After all, they had to pay a great price for the bright moon ancient clan and the heavenly domain to descend. No one would have thought that Longchen, whom they had disdained, would force the bright moon ancient clan into such a situation. Longchen stared at the mighty light beam and did not say anything else. The clan leader of the bright moon ancient clan sneered and said, "There are still 3 days before this formation can be opened. You all can wait to die. In 3 days, let alone exterminating the bright moon ancient clan, it's hard to say whether this clan protection formation can be opened. Sangji clan, today, the bright moon ancient clan will remember this. When the time comes, all of your clans will become blood sacrifices for the bright moon ancient clan." The faces of the various ancient clans turned pale. As the clan leader of the bright moon ancient clan had said, it was impossible to exterminate the bright moon ancient clan in 3 days. The laughter of the clan leader of the bright moon ancient clan and the others gradually disappeared as the formation solidified. The people of various clans had the intention to retreat. At this moment, Longchen shouted and stopped all of them. Everyone stopped in their tracks. Immediately, several Saint Realm experts from the hermit clans looked at Longchen and said in a deep voice, "The clan leader of the bright moon ancient clan is right. It's impossible to exterminate the bright moon ancient clan in 3 days. Longchen, don't be stubborn. Hurry back to the clan and prepare to resist the arrival of the heavenly domain forces." Everyone's voices became softer and softer. These hermit clans knew in their hearts what kind of impact the opening of the heavenly domain passage would have on the ancient desolate land. In their eyes, once the heavenly domain passage was opened, the Sangji clan would definitely cease to exist. However, just as everyone was retreating, Longchen said in a deep voice, "Now that things have come to this, do you think the bright moon ancient clan will give up if you retreat now? You all know how the bright moon ancient clan acts. especially the various hermit clans. The Bright Moon Ancient clan has to pay a great price to open the Heavenly Domain passage. This time, by relying on this Heavenly Domain passage, the Bright Moon Ancient clan will definitely completely control the ancient desolate land. And you hermit clans are the biggest hidden danger. The members of the various hermit clans looked at each other. They knew that Long Chen's words were not alarmist words. Now, except for the Sword Worship clan, all of the 4 one-star clans had allied with the Bright Moon Ancient clan. The only ones who stood in the way of the Bright Moon Ancient clan were the various clans of the Hermit Clan Alliance. Chapter 513. Virtual Immortal Realm exterminate the Bright Moon Ancient clan within 3 days. As soon as Long Chen finished speaking, everyone present was dumbfounded. The surrounding noise also fell silent. The old man from the Ghost Clan could not help but ask, "You? Do you know what you are talking about? Exterminate the Bright Moon Ancient clan within 3 days. This is simply impossible. Unless the various clans use all their resources, it's impossible to achieve with the current strength of our alliance." Use all our resources? Haha. Although the various clans are in an alliance, who would be willing to use all their resources to fight the Bright Moon Ancient clan? Everyone shook their heads. They did not believe Long Chen's words at all. Although the various clans were in an alliance and nearly half of their core and high-level forces had joined the team to exterminate the Bright Moon Ancient clan, they were still on guard. Otherwise, the ancestor of the Ghost Clan, Jing Tianming, could easily exterminate the Bright Moon Ancient clan within 3 days. Faced with the various clans' words, Long Chen stepped forward and said in a deep voice, "I want all the clans to use their resources." All the clans to use their resources. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. Then, they could not help but shake their heads and laugh. They secretly thought that Long Chen was too ignorant. A group of people from the reclusive clans sneered at Long Chen and turned to leave with their clans. Everyone no longer had the intention to stay. They did not take Long Chen's words seriously at all. Everyone shook their heads. The trust they had in Long Chen these days had completely collapsed. At this time, they realized that Long Chen was too young after all. Although the various clans were in the same boat, it was impossible for any of them to use their resources. When Long Chen saw that the various clans were preparing to leave and had even begun to order people to retreat, he said in a deep voice, "All the clans' experts are at the Sage Realm Great Perfection, and almost all of them are nearing the end of their lifespans." The old man from the Ghost Clan shook his head and said, "Since you know this, then you know that the various clans can't use their resources at this time. Once they do, they will lose their lives. Moreover, exterminating the Bright Moon Ancient clan is not something a single clan can do." Long Chen stared at the elder of the Ghost Clan, Jing Chu. His eyes were fixed on the light pillar that pierced the sky from the center of the Bright Moon Ancient clan. He said in a low voice, "Help me pass down the order to Jing Tianming again." The corners of Jing Chu's eyes couldn't help twitching as he said, "Even if those 3 sentences were of great benefit to my clan at that time, it is impossible for my clan to use its hidden strength for you. You just need to pass on my orders." I believe that Jing Tianming will agree. Long Chen continued. The people who were about to leave stopped in their tracks. Many people wanted to see what Long Chen was going to do. Seeing Long Chen's persistence, Jing Chu continued to draw in the air. Gradually, lines and lines began to appear. A moment later, the phantom of the Spectre tribe's patriarch appeared once more. However, at this moment, the patriarch's face was filled with gratitude towards Long Chen. Then, he began to question why Jing Chu had sent another order. With a bitter smile, Jing Chu told the Spectre tribe's patriarch about what Long Chen had said about the Bright Moon Ancient clan. The phantom of the Spectre tribe's patriarch looked at the light pillar in the sky from afar. His face turned gloomy. As the patriarch of a clan, he could naturally tell that this formation was extraordinary. The layer of lightning arcs that enveloped the exterior alone could blast all the attacks from the outside into the spatial crack. The outside world can't break this formation at all. It can't even be disturbed. Without killing the person who was in charge of the formation in the Bright Moon Ancient clan. It can't be done in 3 days. It's not that my specter tribe is unwilling to help you, but once my clan's old ancestor makes a move, I'm afraid he only has 3 days left to live. Please forgive me. The specter tribe's patriarch was very polite to Longchen because of the 3 sentences that he had said to the specter tribe a few days ago. However, when it came to asking Jing Tianming to make a move, he directly refused. Longchen, hurry up and retreat. This battle is just a farce. From now on, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan of the Wasteland will have the final say. We can only say that we're one step too late. It's impossible to destroy the Bright Moon Ancient Clan in 3 days. Why do you have to do this? Humph. How dare you talk about using the heritage of the various clans? Who do you think you are? That's right. The heritage of the various clans is the foundation of a clan. You want us to make a move just because you don't have anyone? What a joke. The people from the various clans kept talking. Some were mocking, and some were comforting. However, Longchen did not seem to hear them. He stared at the Spectre tribe's patriarch and said, "Ask Jing Tianming to come here. I'll help him break through to the origin celestial stage." Buzz. As soon as Longchen finished speaking, all the Saint Stage powerhouses present felt their minds buzzing as they stared at Longchen. The members of the Spectre tribe were stunned. Even the Spectre tribe's patriarch was taken aback. Soon after, he frowned and stared at Longchen. His voice turned cold as he said, "My clan is indebted to you, but don't treat us like idiots. In the heavenly domain, the Saint Stage is the peak. No one can step into the origin celestial stage." The origin celestial stage. It was an existence that surpassed the Saint Stage. Rumor had it that people at this stage could kill saints with their divine consciousness and live for thousands of years. Longchen, do you really think we're idiots? Do you know what the origin celestial stage means? This is not the heavenly domain. No one can step into the origin celestial stage. Otherwise, the various clans wouldn't be shackled at the Saint Stage perfection. I wanted to see what you had in mind. I didn't expect you to use such a crude method to deceive the various clans. What a joke! Voices of ridicule rose and fell one after another. There was simply no one who took Longchen's words to be true. However, at this moment, the Spectre tribe's patriarch suddenly bent down in the communication formation. Jing Tianming's figure gradually appeared in front of everyone. His hunched back and the walking stick in his hand made him look like an ordinary person with one foot in the grave. Jing Tianming coughed twice. His eyes were filled with worry as he stared at the light pillar in the sky and said, "The Bright Moon Ancient Clan is going to burn their boats. This formation requires at least tens of thousands of human emperors to sacrifice. They're willing to pay such a price to open a passage to the heavenly domain. I'm afraid the various clans in the waste domain will bleed like a river." Jing Tianming's words were filled with helplessness. He then looked at Longchen and said, "Although you can't help me step into the origin celestial stage, my Spectre tribe must participate in today's battle. Since the various clans are unwilling to participate, my clan will be the vanguard." Under everyone's gaze, no one expected Jing Tianming to volunteer. He did not give anyone a chance to stop him. His physical body returned to the appearance of a middle-aged man at a speed visible to the naked eye. A terrifying fluctuation of the Saint Stage spread out from his body. Chapter 514. Innate Purple Chi. The communication array was torn apart. Everyone stared at Jing Tianming as he walked out of the array. Their faces were filled with shock. No one expected Jing Tianming to be willing to use the entire Spectre clan as a wager. As a member of the Spectre clan, his cultivation had already reached the perfected Saint Stage and was even a half-step virtual immortal. However, everyone knew that the only way to reach the virtual immortal realm was to enter the heavenly domain. In other words, in the entire ancient desolate land, whether it was the 4 great one-star clans or the various reclusive clans, Jing Tianming's cultivation base was already at the peak. Purple Spike Spectre Clan, where are you? Jing Tianming stared at the light pillar in the sky with a solemn look in his eyes as he roared. Behind him, rays of divine light shot out like a waterfall. A purple spike specter appeared out of thin air, and its devastating aura struck fear in everyone's hearts. Purple spikes coiled around the specter's hands and forcefully tore apart the space that he had just opened. Then, the experts of the purple spike specter clan walked out one by one. Everyone sighed. Not a single Saint Realm expert would be able to tear apart space with just one hand. The space in the heavenly domain was chaotic, and those who had not reached the Saint stage could not even fly. However, Jing Tianming, who was in a reclusive clan, was able to open a space tunnel and come here in an instant. More and more Saint stage experts from the Purple Spike Spectre clan appeared. There were more than 100 of them, and 300 half-sages followed closely behind. The clan leader of the Spectre clan was a little pale. He stared at Long Chen and said to Jing Tianming in a deep voice, "Old ancestor, we can't destroy the Bright Moon Ancient clan even if we make a move. Moreover, we only have 3 days. Jing Tianming shook his head and said, "The Bright Moon Ancient clan's formation is very different from the heavenly domain passages of the past. If this formation is used, the other clans will not be safe. Instead of waiting for the other clans to make a move, the Spectre clan will be the first to do so." Everyone fell silent when they heard this. Long Chen, Jian Wufeng, and the others from the Swordsman clan also cupped their fists to show their respect. Before Long Chen could speak, Jian Wufeng said, "Sir, please wait for a moment. The Swordsman clan is willing to travel with you." After saying that, Jian Wufeng began sending a secret message to the Sword clan. Long Chen looked at Jing Tianming, his eyes sparkling. His thoughts went back to his previous life. At that time, it was already late in the Battle of Heaven Wasteland, and Long Chen had just stepped into the Sage-to-Be realm. The difference in strength between the two was like heaven and earth. However, at that time, Jing Tianming was a righteous person. Long Chen stared at Jing Tianming and said, "I told you. I can help you enter the virtual celestial realm." He could enter the virtual immortal realm. When Long Chen mentioned this again, everyone could not help but look at him in unison. The clan leader of the Ghost Clan had an unfriendly look on his face. Originally, he had been rather courteous to Long Chen, but now, he was hostile. He seemed to be very displeased with Jing Tianming's actions. After all, in his opinion, Jing Tianming was pushing the Spectre race to their deaths. "Your Excellency, what's the point of speaking nonsense now? The various clans have been stuck at the virtual celestial realm for many years. How can a sage-to-be like you solve them? Only by entering the heavenly domain can one become a virtual celestial realm expert. This is something that everyone knows." Everyone nodded. They did not believe Long Chen's words at all. Of course, if Long Chen could really help the various clans enter the virtual celestial realm, he would not need to summon all the clans to gather here. Long Chen felt the disdainful and negative gazes from the crowd. He walked in front of Jing Tianming and said in a low voice, "In the past, the Sage Realm was indeed the peak in the ancient desolate land. The virtual celestial realm was impossible to reach. However, today is different." Roar. As Long Chen roared, divine light appeared under his feet. He stepped into the air forcefully. He transformed into the body of a chasing sunhorn dragon. His gigantic body, which was covered in scales, shocked everyone. Long Chen was actually charging straight towards the light pillar above the Bright Moon Ancient clan. Celestial technique, emptiness absorption technique. Long Chen's voice was like a dragon's roar. As soon as he finished speaking, the space around the giant pillar collapsed. Dark purple aura was swallowed into his mouth like thousands of silk threads. In the next moment, Long Chen landed in front of the crowd again. At this moment, there was a dark purple ball of light in his hand. The dark purple silk threads in the ball of light were like living creatures. They kept moving according to a special law. The surrounding people looked at each other. They did not know what Long Chen was holding in his hand. Only Jing Tianming could not stop his body from trembling. He walked toward Long Chen subconsciously. His voice trembled violently as he said, This is the aura of the heavenly domain. You took out the heavenly domain item from the spatial crack. Hiss. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air and stared at Long Chen. It was rumored that Long Chen had countless celestial techniques. However, no one expected him to be able to take out the heavenly domain item from the spatial crack. Long Chen ignored everyone's shocked gazes and said, "This pillar can open a passage to the heavenly domain in less than 3 days. The spatial barrier of this pillar is extremely weak. In fact, only the heavenly domain can have experts above the sage stage because of this item. This item is called the connate purple chi. It is born from nature. It is a necessary item to enter the virtual celestial realm. The heavenly domain is filled with this item, but there is no trace of it in the ancient barren land." As Long Chen spoke each word, everyone's eyes turned crimson red. They stared at the dark purple ball of light in his hand. If it were not for Jing Tianming's presence, they would have snatched this item. Swoosh. As soon as Long Chen finished speaking, he threw the connate purple chi in his hand to Jing Tianming. Jing Tianming caught the item with his right hand. He could not stop trembling from excitement. He had never thought that he would one day reach the virtual celestial realm in the ancient barren land. However, Long Chen did not think much of it. With the pillar of light here, unless the bright moon ancient clan stopped opening the passage, he would be able to absorb the connate purple chi at will. This celestial technique was created by him in his previous life to enter the virtual celestial realm. In his previous life, because of this technique, he had absorbed almost 50% of the connate purple chi in the boundless 10th heavenly domain. Just as Long Chen was deep in thought, Jian Wufeng of the Worshipper clan had already informed the higher-ups of the clan through the communication array. The higher-ups of the Worshipper clan were originally hesitant. However, when they saw this scene, they immediately agreed. The scene of Jing Tianming's arrival happened again. The Worshipper clan's foundation had arrived. The various secluded families looked at each other, dumbfounded. They looked at Long Chen in disbelief. Some people even tried to stand near the pillar to sense the connate purple chi. However, there was no movement at all. Chapter 5:15. The beginning of the war. All of a sudden, the upper echelons of the various hidden clans activated the communication array and began to contact their clans. Countless shadows appeared out of thin air. At this moment, Jing Tianming was floating in the air with his eyes closed. His body was covered in dark purple silk threads. The terrifying aura caused everyone to retreat 10,000 meters away. What? Someone can really absorb the heavenly domain's energy? How is this possible? Absorbing the heavenly domain's energy from the heavenly domain's channel that is about to open? Is this real? Jing Tianming, that's the old-fashioned old man from the Ghost Clan. He's actually breaking through the realm barrier. He's about to step into the primordial immoral realm. The primordial immoral realm. He's really in the primordial immoral realm. Countless exclamations rose one after another. The space where the communication array was located was torn apart. Through the communication array, the various clans confirmed the spatial coordinates and rushed over. In just 2 hours, more than a dozen Saint Realm consummation experts appeared outside the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's protective array. These people all stood in front of Long Chen, and their eyes swept over Jing Tianming's location. Then, everyone had a fanatical look on their faces. These dozen or so people all looked like withered old trees. They were all Saint Realm consummate realm cultivators with 9th stage Saint Realm cultivations. In fact, it was hard to tell how condensed they had become. However, they had never reached the primordial immoral realm. In order to have the strongest combat power in the wasteland in every generation, the various clans had used various means to preserve their strength until the next Saint Realm consummation expert was born. Now, they saw the hope of reaching the primordial immoral realm. Mr. Long Chen, please obtain the innate purple chi for us. Mr. Long Chen, please obtain the innate purple chi for us. Mr. Long Chen, please. The various clans smiled bitterly and were speechless. This scene would definitely become a legend in the ancient desolate land. The Saint Realm consummation experts of the various clans were actually bowing to a half-step saint. Longchen stared at the crowd with his hands behind his back. He did not show the slightest bit of discomfort as he accepted their greetings. After a moment of silence, Longchen looked at the few people and said, "Today, I can obtain the innate purple chi for you, but within 3 days, I want the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Exterminate the Bright Moon Ancient Clan within 3 days." The dozen or so experts at the peak of the Sage Realm glanced at each other. Then, they all nodded in agreement. The people of the various clans were not idiots. Just as Longchen had said, if the Bright Moon Ancient Clan were to open the Heavenly Domain Passage, they would definitely eliminate the major hidden clans in order to consolidate the power of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Now, if they had the strength of a virtual immortal, destroying the Bright Moon Ancient Clan would be a piece of cake. Seeing that everyone had agreed, Longchen didn't hesitate and leaped into the air to absorb the innate purple chi. As Longchen continued to absorb the innate purple chi, the faces of many higher-ups of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan turned gloomy. They had never thought that Longchen would actually summon all the hidden forces of the various clans. At this moment, almost all the peak forces of the desolate region had gathered outside the clan guarding formation. "Patriarch, what should we do? We just went to investigate. For some reason, that Longchen is actually able to absorb the power of the heavenly domain. Once he helps the people of the various clans to become virtual immortals, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan will definitely be defeated within 3 days. Who is Longchen? How can he absorb the innate purple chi from the space crack? How does he know that this thing is the key to stepping into the virtual immortal realm?" In the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, the higher-ups were already in a mess. They had originally thought that they would definitely win through the Heavenly Domain Passage, but now, they were in a situation where they would definitely lose. The patriarch of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan looked as cold as ice. After a while, he said in a deep voice, "We must open the Heavenly Domain Passage in advance. At least, we must let the power of the Heavenly Domain arrive in advance." The clan guarding formation had not been opened yet, and the two parties had not yet clashed. However, the situation of victory and defeat was changing rapidly. The next day, the people of the various clans had already gathered outside the clan guarding formation of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Among them, the person with the lowest cultivation level was at the human sovereign realm. Swoosh! Swoosh! Then, one expert after another slowly rose from the ground. Each of them was like a blazing sun rising into the sky. The saint energy around them was completely restrained. Occasionally, some of it would leak out, and it could shatter the space. Virtual Immortal Realm. This is the Virtual Immortal Realm. Immortal power, immortal power. So what we lacked was this innate purple chi. With this item, our saint power can be converted into immortal power. From now on, the saint stage will no longer be the end of the wasteland. Many virtual celestial realm powerhouses stood in the sky. Their movements caused the wind and clouds to change color. Countless spatial cracks seemed to appear beneath their feet. The people of the various races felt a surge of hot-bloodedness that they had to vent. Within the wasteland, the Saint Realm was no longer the limit. These words spoke of the sorrow of the desolate region for countless years. However, there were still 4 or 5 peak true saints who turned into a cup of yellow soil after using the innate purple chi. They didn't succeed in breaking through the realm barrier, but the people of the various clans didn't feel sad at all. At their level, having a chance to break through once was already enough. After a short exclamation, many gazes landed on Longchen. In the sky, more than 10 virtual celestial realm powerhouses were filled with gratitude. In the end, they bowed to Longchen again. Everyone was grateful to Longchen, but they were also wary of him. This was because when they stepped into the virtual celestial realm, their divine senses were already 10 times stronger than that of a true saint. However, they still couldn't see through Longchen at all. Longchen stared at them without any fear or respect. Longchen's divine senses swept across the crowd. Instead, he couldn't help but shake his head. Although these people had stepped into the virtual celestial realm, their foundations were too weak. Compared to the people of the heavenly region, they were too weak. He even felt that as long as he absorbed enough energy from the moon god's essence, he might be able to fight against them. Even so, it was more than enough for them to fight against the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Longchen bowed to the crowd and said, "Everyone, please break the array." The people of the various ancient clans were in high spirits. The appearance of the virtual celestial realm powerhouses made them confident. Rumble. As the virtual celestial realm powerhouses attacked, the entire Bright Moon Ancient Clan's protective array, which spanned close to 200,000 miles, suddenly had a huge gap. Bang! 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 The attacks fell one after another. They seemed ordinary, but the celestial force contained in them was extremely terrifying. Under the celestial force, the protective array, which was originally difficult for the various clans to break in a short period of time, turned into light fragments in the sky. The array receded like the tide. The endless moon palace, which was as vast as the Milky Way, appeared in front of everyone. Chapter 5:16. Impossible to predict. Due to the appearance of the 12 Essence Immortals, countless spatial cracks appeared in the sky above the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. They were like pitch-black sabers that cut through the sky. The 12 of them stood in the sky while Longchen and the other Saint Realm senior officials of the ancient clans led the powerhouses of the various clans. The protective array of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan shattered. The Saint Plane cultivators of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan rose into the air. There were countless people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan within 200,000 miles. The three old men slowly stepped out of the main hall of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and reached a height of 10,000 meters with a single step. "Everyone, it's been a long time. I didn't expect all of you to have stepped into the virtual immoral realm today." The leader of the trio, an old man, said in a deep voice. As he spoke, the decrepit old man started to become younger at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, the two people behind him did the same. These three people were also experts of the sage accomplished realm. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan was worthy of being called the head of the four major one-star ancient clans. It was capable of supporting three experts of the sage accomplished realm at the same time to preserve their lifespan. This alone required an enormous amount of resources. In the sky, Jing Tianming was the first to speak. He said coldly, "Han Fen and his brothers, do you still want to fight? Quickly destroy the formation and persuade them to surrender." As soon as he finished speaking, the 12 virtual celestial realm cultivators instantly emitted a boundless amount of pressure, which was directed toward the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Plop! Plop! In the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, apart from the Saint Realm experts and above, even the sage-to-be experts prostrated on the ground for a moment, their bodies trembling uncontrollably. There were a few half-saints who forcefully refused to kneel, but their bodies crumbled apart after just a few breaths of time. Only their souls remained. The three experts of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan stared at the 12 people, but their expressions did not change. Instead, they looked at Longchen. Their gazes were as cold as blades made of ice. Such a young man actually forced the Bright Moon Ancient Clan into such a state. Hanfen said. Longchen looked at the three of them and replied indifferently, "You brought this upon yourself. Your Bright Moon Ancient Clan used the Tianyu passageway as your foundation and caused all the other clans to resent you. Otherwise, even with me around, we wouldn't be in such a situation today." Everyone present nodded. They knew that Longchen's words were not empty words. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan was one of the four major one-star ancient clans in the wasteland. However, its clansmen were unreasonable and ruthless. Their Moonseed secret technique made the other clans gnash their teeth in anger. Rather than saying that Longchen had reached this stage, it was better to say that Longchen had added fuel to the fire. "Ha, what a good the evils we bring upon ourselves are the hardest to bear. Today, my Bright Moon Ancient Clan would like to see who in the desolate land under the Sky Domain can destroy my Bright Moon Ancient Clan." Hanfen suddenly raised his head and let out a long howl. Behind him, beams of moonlight shot up into the sky from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. In an instant, tens of thousands of Bright Moon Ancient Clan members had died. Some of these people had committed suicide, while others had been killed by their own clansmen. Most of them were women and those who weren't that strong. At the same time, Han Fun and the other two began to chant the incomprehensible words. However, as soon as his voice fell, the thousands of moonlight and the blood of tens of thousands of people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan mixed together and intertwined above the entire Bright Moon Ancient Clan. It was a bright scarlet moon. How cruel! They actually used the blood of their own clansmen as a blood sacrifice for such a secret technique. In the sky, the virtual immortals casually attacked one after another, trying to interrupt the Bright Moon Ancient Clan's actions. However, they were all swallowed up by the scarlet moonlight. At this moment, Longchen stood up and said in a deep voice, "It's useless. The sacrifice of tens of thousands of people's flesh and souls cannot be interrupted halfway." As soon as Longchen's voice fell, the scarlet moon that covered the entire Bright Moon Ancient Clan rushed toward the three perfect Saint Realm experts from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Fight! Fight! It was unknown whether it was in the Bright Moon Ancient Clan or in the other major alliances, but as soon as the word fight was uttered, the scene suddenly became chaotic. Countless battle formations were formed rapidly, and various colors of divine light almost covered the scorching sun. The two forces instantly clashed, and this battle would forever be recorded in the legends of the ancient desolate land. This battle would also be the first large-scale confrontation between the various major ancient clans. The three Bright Moon Ancient Clan experts soared into the sky and began to fight with the 12 virtual immortals. In everyone's eyes, this was just the last resistance of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The people from the various clans were the backbone of their own clans. Although their numbers were far less than the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, their combat power was much stronger. In a short time, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was defeated. Longchen looked at the countless Bright Moon Ancient Clan members dying in a pool of blood, but his heart did not waver. He knew that no one from the various clans would let the Bright Moon Ancient Clan go. Along the way, he had already let go of all the Bright Moon Ancient Clan members that he could let go. The people here were destined to be like this. In my previous life, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan killed more than 1,000,000 clans in the Battle of Infinite Wasteland. However, in this life, they have become the target of public criticism. This is fate. Longchen looked at the bloodshed inside in his heart. The moon god essence crystal ball in his right hand rapidly absorbed the moonlight from all directions. The moonlight was so condensed that it turned into a river and poured into the moon god essence crystal in Longchen's hand. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed, and the situation of the various clans' attacks gradually slowed down. After all, the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was one of the 4 great ancient clans. The core strength of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was not low in comprehension of battle formations and celestial techniques. At that moment, although the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was still defeated, they were not completely defeated. As the atmosphere began to ease up, Longchen stopped in his tracks. His brows were tightly knitted together. In the sky, 12 virtual celestials were facing 3 great perfection Sage Realm experts. Why had they not won yet? Although the 3 of them had used some kind of secret technique passed down from the heaven region, it was impossible for them to be a match for 12 virtual celestials. Longchen's divine thought soared into the sky and flew toward the sky to find the few of them. However, when he saw the scene in front of him, his face suddenly changed. He shouted loudly, "Quickly kill the 3 of them. Don't let them get close to the central light pillar." Longchen's shout was like a clap of thunder in everyone's ears. Everyone's faces were filled with confusion. The 12 virtual celestials in the sky also felt the words transmitted by Longchen's divine thought at the same time. However, at that moment, the 3 great perfection Sage Realm experts of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan who had used some kind of secret technique laughed maniacally. You saw through it? Haha, unfortunately, it's too late. All of you will be buried with the dead members of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan has won this battle. Han Fun and the other two's bodies were riddled with holes. Even half of their divine souls had been pierced. However, the 3 of them were still within 100 meters of the heaven region passageway. Rumble! While everyone was bewildered, their bodies and souls actually started to swell, and then they exploded with a bang. Chapter 5:17. Turning point of the Sage Realm. The three people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan actually borrowed the strength of the virtual immortals to forcefully attack the end of the light pillar. In the center of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, the incantation became more and more complicated, and the flesh and divine souls of the three people also disappeared in the air. But this time, he brought along the end of the light pillar in the sky. Longchen stared blankly at the sky. His face darkened. He had never thought that these three people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan were actually seeking death. The reason they were able to endure for a while under the attack of a virtual celestial was probably because they had been burning their life force from the very beginning. Moreover, they had used some kind of secret technique that increased their life force. Under everyone's attacks, they approached the Pillar of Light without leaving a trace. With this final attack, they forcefully used their own lives and the blood sacrifice technique to blast open the Heaven Domain passage ahead of time. The three of them shattered in front of the light pillar, followed by a shockwave that swept out for tens of thousands of miles. At this moment, everyone was stunned on the spot. They saw that the Heavenly Domain passage, which was originally slowly opening, suddenly split open by several meters. Buzz, buzz, buzz. 3 streams of light flashed out from within, and a wave of pressure suddenly swept through the world. As the three of them appeared, the Heavenly Domain passage behind them seemed to be unable to withstand the pressure and began to crumble. The leader swept his gaze across the crowd, and everyone felt as if they had fallen into an ice cave. The passageway to the Heavenly Domain is still unstable. Leave one person behind to open it up quickly so that our army can descend upon the ancient desolate land. As soon as this person finished speaking, divine light flashed in the hands of one of them, and he quickly landed around the Heavenly Domain passage. The other 2 stood in the air and looked at the dozen or so virtual immortal powerhouses in the sky. The leader of the group chuckled. I didn't expect a virtual immortal to appear in the ancient desolate land. How unbelievable, Han Zishan, you deal with 6, and I deal with 6. The purple-robed man beside him also said in a deep voice, let's see who can kill faster. After we kill the 12 of them, we'll split the people down there equally. What do you think? The conversation between the 2 of them caused the 12 virtual immortal realm powerhouses in the sky to look extremely gloomy. However, they did not dare to let their guard down. Swish swish. As soon as the 2 of them finished speaking, their figures disappeared on the spot. Poochie. Under everyone's gazes, the swords in their hands actually pierced through 2 origin immortals, and then the 2 origin immortals were blasted into pieces under their horrified gazes. Hiss. Everyone's faces turned pale with fright. Everyone's heart dropped to the freezing point. This was the virtual immortal realm. The 2 of them had actually killed 2 of them in a single round. The remaining 10 virtual immortals felt a chill run down their spines. They didn't dare to hesitate any longer and formed a triangle formation. However, the 2 Hallyu clansmen from the Sky Domain didn't care at all and attacked again. It was just as the 2 of them had said. At this moment, even though they'd killed a single person, they were truly one against many. Seeing the celestial energy shooting out in all directions from the sky, the various alliances and ancient clans looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Below the sky, the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan had appeared at the forefront of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. He stared at the saint stage powerhouses of the various clans, then narrowed his eyes and glanced at where Longchen was. He sneered and said, I have to say that you really surprised me. You're actually able to let people from various clans step into the virtual immortal realm. If they hadn't just broken through their cultivation and become rivals in love, perhaps my Bright Moon Ancient Clan would have been destroyed here. The clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan was in a good mood at this moment. He felt that the situation was once again under his feet. Although only 3 people from the Sky Domain had walked out of the passage at this moment, the 3 of them were enough to solve the crisis of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and intimidate the other ancient clans. Longchen seemed to be too lazy to even look at him. He just stared at the three people in the sky, and his heart sank to the bottom. Then, his gaze fell on the crystal ball in his hand that was refined with the essence of the moon god. Kill them! Sangji clan, form the blood sword battle formation and activate the spirit burning technique. With Long Chen's order, the scene became chaotic again. The Sangji clan charged directly toward the place where the Bright Moon Ancient clan was gathered. The three divine beast fighting souls led their subordinates to bear the brunt of the attack. Jian San, Yi Hailan, and Qing Xian each led a team of more than 10,000 people with the cultivation of the Sage Realm and activated the Blood Sword battle formation. Seeing that Long Chen had unexpectedly attacked again without saying a word, the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient clan snorted coldly and led his people to charge toward Long Chen and the others. During the battle, the people of the Bright Moon Ancient clan were horrified. Only then did they realize that the combat power of the people behind Long Chen was not weaker than any of the hidden clans. Even their understanding of battle formations was superior. However, as the people of the Bright Moon Ancient clan were killed, Long Chen stared at the moon god's essence in his hand and couldn't help but shake his head. If he wanted to complete this item, he had to continue to obtain the moon essence. He had to complete this item before the 3 people from the Sky Domain defeated the 12 people from the Sky Domain. Only then would he have the strength to fight. Due to the appearance of the 3 people in the Sky Domain passage, the people of the various clans all looked worried. However, when they saw Long Chen leading the Sangji clan to kill, the higher-ups of the Sword Worship clan and the Sage Realm experts of the Ghost clan attacked at the same time. Since things have come to this, we'll just have to make a profit. We can't let the Bright Moon Ancient clan have such an easy time today. Kill them. If we lose, I'm afraid our clans will no longer have a foothold. What are we waiting for? Kill! With the addition of the Ghost clan, the various clans started to attack again. A bloody battle began again. Swoosh! Swoosh! Another 2 virtual immortals fell from the sky and turned into dust. No one had expected the 3 people from the Sky Domain to be so powerful. However, they didn't know that the 3 people were only at the initial stage of the virtual immortal realm. However, although they were all at the initial stage of the virtual immortal realm, their combat power was worlds apart from the virtual immortal realm experts of the various clans in the wasteland. As the people from the Bright Moon Ancient clan and the various alliances died, Long Chen's face darkened. His eyes fell on the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient clan as he said coldly, "Just a little more. If I kill you, the refining of the moon god's essence will be completed." As soon as Long Chen gave the order, he rushed toward the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient clan. The clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient clan did not expect Long Chen to rush toward him among the tens of thousands of troops. Seeing the moon essence being captured by Long Chen from the bodies of the Bright Moon Ancient clan members, the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient clan could not help but ask, "That day, you obtained the moon god's essence from my clan's forbidden area. Today, I want you to repay it with your life." However, he soon realized how terrifying Long Chen was. Chapter 5:18. Entering the Saint Realm in 10 breaths. A half-step Saint Realm Master was able to fight the Bright Moon Ancient clan's patriarch, a 6th Order Saint. The members of the Bright Moon Ancient clan glanced at Long Chen solemnly. Bang! The clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient clan was blasted down from the sky by Long Chen's sword, and more than 10 halls were destroyed. However, at that moment, a rain of blood fell from the sky. The 2 people from the Heaven Domain had actually blasted all the virtual immortals from the various ancient clans out of the sky. The bodies of the Essence Immortals from the various clans shattered and reformed. However, their eyes were filled with fear. When the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient clan and the other Sage Realm higher-ups who were being suppressed by the various clans saw this scene, they glared at the various clans and shouted, "Once the virtual immortal dies, none of you will be able to leave this place today." The saints of the various clans looked at each other, and some of them could not help but fly away. They had chosen to escape from the Bright Moon Ancient clan. No one had expected the 3 heavenly domain virtual celestials to turn the tide of the battle. However, Just as everyone began to hesitate, Longchen suddenly shouted to the 3 divine beast fighting souls behind him, "Join hands with me and kill at least 2 inner Sage Realm experts from the Hallyu ancient clan." The 3 mythological beast fighting souls roared and rushed toward Longchen. The 3 of them had all transformed into the bodies of divine beasts. Wherever they passed, anyone below the Saint Realm would be instantly crushed. Ancient divine beast bloodline? Seeing the 3 divine beasts, the 3 heavenly regions' virtual immortals could not help but reveal shocked expressions. However, the 3 of them clearly did not care about Longchen and the others. They continued to kill the remaining 7 or 8 virtual immortals. As for the remaining person, he was maintaining the Heaven Domain passage. As for the lives of the Saint Realm experts of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, they did not care. Moreover, although they had the upper hand, they were powerless to support the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. The 3 divine beast fighting souls and Longchen joined hands to unleash an unprecedented battle prowess. The Yazi fighting soul beheaded the clan leader of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Then, the other 2 Saint Realm experts from his clan followed suit. Some of the people from the hermit clans had already started to flee, and some of them, like Longchen and the others, were prepared to fight to the death. They knew that the real outcome of this battle was not in their hands, nor was it in the hands of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Instead, it was the 3 people from the Heaven Domain who were on the Heaven Domain passage. However, after the 3 saints of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan were killed, Longchen sat down cross-legged on the spot. The crystal formed by the moon god's essence in his hand disappeared into thin air, replaced by a strange white flower. This flower was as white as winter snow, but it was shaped like a bright moon. As soon as the flower appeared, everyone from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan and the 3 heavenly domain cultivators at the virtual immortal realm stared at Longchen. Illusion Moon Divine Flower. Doesn't this flower only exist in the legends of our race's holy scripture? Why would it appear in this person's hands? Wasn't the moon god essence in his crystal ball? Why did it turn into an illusory moon god flower? Everyone in the Bright Moon Ancient Clan exclaimed. The Illusion Moon Divine Flower was a legendary item of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan. Just as everyone was exclaiming, the flower was swallowed into Longchen's stomach. Everyone from the Tsangji clan retreated and surrounded Longchen. Jianshi San, Yi Hailan, Qing Xian, the 3 divine beast battle souls, and many other saints surrounded Longchen. The 2 people from the Heaven Domain wanted to snatch the flower from Longchen's hand, but they were stopped by the virtual immortal realm cultivators of the various clans. The other person controlling the Heaven Domain passage seemed to have finally stabilized the passage and slammed it heavily. Then, his figure moved and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already above Longchen and the others. Hand over the Illusion Moon Divine Flower. The person roared, and the long sword in his hand slashed down from 10,000 meters away. A ray of immortal power seemed to tear the world apart. The 3 divine beast battle souls used their bloodline superpowers. At the same time, Yi Hailan, Qing Xian, and the others charged forward at the same time. At the same time, tens of thousands of people charged forward with their blood swords. Rumble! The mighty aura swept across hundreds of thousands of miles. The Bright Moon Ancient Clan's palace was crushed into powder. Rays of immortal power scattered in all directions. Puff! 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 The people in the blood sword formation coughed out blood and fell to the ground. Their divine souls were shattered by this ray of immortal power. The 3 divine beast battle souls had blood-red ravines around them. It was a ghastly sight. Jianshi San and the others were also seriously injured. This person was at the virtual immortal realm. His strength was far inferior to theirs. Very well, then all of you can die together. The virtual immortal realm cultivator's face instantly darkened. He did not expect that these few saints and a bunch of small fries would be able to block his powerful immortal power attack. Immortal technique, Night Moon Attack. Buzz. The person roared, and the sky suddenly darkened. With a slash of his sword, tens of thousands of full moons came from all directions. Protect our Lord with our lives. Fight! God bless our Lord! Fight! God bless our Lord! Thousands of Tsunji clan members around Longchen exploded at the same time. The three divine beast battle souls were forcefully blasted into the ground. However, this attack was blocked once again. The Yazi battle soul was the first to stand up. However, he had already transformed into a human. He narrowed his eyes and stood in front of Longchen. He said coldly to the virtual immortal realm cultivator, "Today, even if my battle soul is shattered, I will summon the power of the divine beast from my previous life and kill you." Boom! 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 A wild aura suddenly burst out of the Yazi battle soul's body. However, at this moment, Longchen, who was behind him, emitted a dazzling divine light, buzz. In an instant, the divine light enveloped everyone and forced the virtual immortal realm cultivator to retreat. The virtual immortal realm cultivator, the higher-ups of the Bright Moon Ancient Clan, the saints of the various alliances, and even the virtual immortals who were still fighting in the sky all looked at Longchen. This person has become a saint. What's going on with this divine light? Even I was forced to retreat. No, this person's aura is still rising. Everyone stared at Longchen. They saw that Longchen's cultivation, which was originally at the half-step saint realm, had stepped into the saint realm in an instant. His aura had undergone an earth-shaking change. First level of the saint realm. Second level of the saint realm. Third level of the saint realm. Fourth level of the saint realm. Hiss. In just a few breaths, everyone's face was filled with shock. They could not help but take a deep breath. It was as if thunder had exploded in their minds. Longchen had gone from the half-step saint realm to the intermediate saint realm. How is this possible? He went from the half-step saint realm to the fourth level of the saint realm in less than 10 breaths. How did this person do it? Did he not have a barrier to break through? The barrier to the saint realm and the barrier from the third level of the saint realm to the fourth level. He entered the saint realm in less than 10 breaths and broke through 4 levels in a row. A monster, a peerless monster. This person must not be allowed to live. All kinds of exclamations rose one after another. In an instant, everyone stopped attacking. Longchen slowly opened his eyes. They were filled with disdain, as if he was a peerless king. Chapter 519. Saint Origin Energy. Longchen's gaze was like the scorching sun that suddenly appeared in the dark night. Anyone who was swept by his gaze felt their souls tremble, as if their souls were about to leave their bodies. All the virtual immortals had stopped fighting, and their gazes fell on Longchen in a daze. Even the 3 people from the Bright Moon Ancient Clan from the Heaven Domain were momentarily stunned and stopped what they were doing. Longchen stood among the Tsunji clan. Behind him, the Tsunji clan had suffered thousands of casualties, and the 3 divine beast war souls were also seriously injured. His eyes were like ice as they gradually fell on the virtual immortal at the front. Buzz. Longchen waved his right hand and withdrew the divine light that had just repelled the virtual immortal. He said in a deep voice, "Heaven Domain's Bright Moon Ancient Clan's main branch." As soon as his voice fell, Longchen's figure suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the virtual immortal at the front. Bang! With a slash of his sword, Longchen, a 4th-level Saint Realm expert, sent a virtual immortal flying tens of thousands of meters away. The surrounding people were shocked and speechless as they stared at Longchen in a daze. If Longchen's 10 breaths of 4th-level Saint Realm had surprised people with his talent, then at this moment, they were completely confused by his combat strength. A 4th-level Saint Realm expert had actually sent a virtual immortal from the Heaven Domain flying in an instant. How is this possible? He is clearly using Saint Origin energy, but he can actually repel a virtual immortal with a single strike. No, his Saint Origin energy seems to be completely different from ours. 4th-level Saint Realm. Is he going to fight a virtual immortal as a 4th-level Saint Realm expert? The large-scale battle between the 2 forces had suddenly turned into a battle between the peak powerhouses present. 3 powerhouses from the heaven domain were fighting against the virtual immortals of the various clans, and now, there was even a 4th-level Saint Realm expert. Rumble. Tens of thousands of meters away, in a huge pit. The virtual immortal who had been sent flying by Longchen moved and appeared 100 meters away from Longchen. However, his complexion was as black as iron, extremely unsightly. I didn't expect to meet such a talented person in the ancient desolate land. You're only at 40% of the Saint Realm, yet you're able to defeat me. Very good, very good. The celestial spiritual energy in his body surged as he spoke. The 3 mythological beast war souls, along with Jian Shan and Yi Hailan, flew up and stood beside Longchen. However, at this moment, Longchen waved his hand and said indifferently, "There's no need for that. I'll kill him myself." These people were startled, and their faces were filled with worry. However, they didn't dare to disobey Longchen's order, and they retreated one after another. When the people of the heaven domain heard Longchen's words, they felt as if they had been slapped in the face. Just now, Longchen's attack was so fast that he couldn't react in time. However, in his opinion, it was just carelessness. Now that he had immortal power, he was in an invincible position. At the very least, he wouldn't lose to a 4th-level Saint Realm cultivator. The difference between the two of them was almost 1 level. Good, I'd like to see what kind of strength you have to fight me. The man shouted and pointed his sword at Longchen. A ray of moonlight flickered, and finally, the divine light on it rippled. Immortal technique, Cold Moon Ice Phoenix. As the moonlight flickered, the sword light swept in all directions. However, it suddenly condensed in the center, and finally turned into a giant ice crystal beast. The giant beast rushed straight at Longchen, and wherever it passed, immortal power sealed the surrounding space. However, the places that the rays of moonlight touched were all turned into ice shards, and were crushed into pieces. Seeing this attack, Longchen didn't have the slightest intention of retreating. He just waved the sword in his hand, leaving behind mysterious traces in the air. Void Sword Art, Void Sword Body Slash. Wong. The two of them slashed out at the same time. In the blink of an eye, it was like water and fire colliding. The sky was filled with immortal energy and saint energy, which swept out like a tsunami. However, Longchen's figure disappeared again. Chi-La. When he appeared again, dozens of sword rays slashed at the virtual immortal realm cultivator from less than 100 meters away. The virtual immortal realm cultivator snorted and immediately shook his immortal power, trying to shake off Longchen. However, at the same time, the Void Sword Art arrived. Immortal Technique, War Spirit Gods. Immortal Technique, Void Sword Art. Immortal Technique, the dozens of sword rays in the Void Sword Art arrived and tore apart the immortal power in his body. For a moment, blood spurted out like a fountain. Longchen's eyes were still cold. The sword in his hand shook, and he said in a deep voice, "Break." Boom boom boom. A sound like a mountain collapsing was heard, and the virtual immortal realm cultivator's body was crushed into powder. The blood rain that filled the sky caused everyone to turn pale. They stared at Longchen. His sword was still sheathed. His sword rays killed a virtual immortal realm cultivator. Dozens of immortal techniques were used at the same time. Is this person really from the ancient desolate land? Immortal techniques. When did immortal techniques become so worthless in the ancient desolate land? Moreover, this person is just a young man. A 4th-stage Saint Realm cultivator killing a virtual immortal. This kind of thing rarely happens in the heaven region. Everyone retreated like a tide. The virtual immortal realm cultivator's body was crushed, and the blood that contained immortal power was enough to penetrate the body of a human emperor. It made a Saint Realm cultivator's heart palpitate. However, such a powerful cultivator seemed to be at the same level as Longchen. The virtual immortal realm cultivator's divine soul was condensed, and it was very different from the other divine souls. He stared at Longchen and said coldly, "How can this be? Your saint power. Your saint power is almost as strong as my immortal power." Longchen stared at the divine soul, and the saint power around him spread out. Everyone could see it clearly. Just as this person said, although Longchen was a saint realm cultivator, his saint power was comparable to a virtual immortal realm cultivator. Only Longchen knew that this so-called saint power was formed when his dragon essence entered the saint realm. In fact, it was not saint power at all. This was the refined dragon origin energy, saint origin energy. Longchen stared at the virtual immortal realm cultivator and walked forward step by step. He said calmly, "If I wanted to kill you in the heaven region, it might take a lot of effort. However, in the waste region, killing a virtual immortal realm cultivator is a piece of cake. There is no connate purple chi in the waste region. Although you have immortal power, you can't unleash the true power of immortal techniques, just like everyone else here. With just immortal power, killing you is as easy as slaughtering pigs." Bang! Longchen shouted and grabbed the air with his right hand. The virtual immortal realm cultivator's divine soul was crushed by him. This scene was like a dream in everyone's eyes. The virtual immortal realm cultivators and the 2 remaining Bright Moon Ancient Clan cultivators from the heaven region felt a chill down their spines. Their hearts could not help but twitch a little. That was a virtual immortal realm cultivator's divine soul. Longchen had crushed him as if he was crushing a ball of green smoke. You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.